Dean here, Dean78904. That's my daily fantasy handle. Hopefully we see that somewhere atop the DK contest going down tonight, maybe a Fanduel contest as well. Maybe the Fanduel single entry series. We'll talk about that at some point later on. This is the start of 2+ hours of MLB DFS talk, taking y'all all the way up the lock and through lock. Myself, Keith, Tim, here for an hour and a half. I don't know how much we can possibly say for an hour and a half about the St. Louis Cardinals, but I'm sure we're going to talk plenty about them. Keith, you've been demoted, Keith. Normally you're on crunch time. I don't know what's going on. Did you? I don't know if this is demoted or not. There's probably some pros and cons both ways, depending on for your perspective. Working up to the bell is probably kind of tricky, but welcome to the show. Glad to have you back. How's Arizona life? How's Arizona treating you?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Glad to be back here with you on the flagship show. But yeah, crunch time is a good time, but juggling those lineups right up to lock can get cumbersome at times, especially when you're trying to focus on a show. So a little more leisurely when you get to do it earlier, and then get that half hour or so before lock to update those lineups. But Arizona's good. It's hot, but I love that kind of weather, so treat me well.
That was a fabulous use of the word cumbersome, by the way. That was excellent. Did somebody say did somebody feed you a word and say try to work this in, or that just came up organically? That was pretty good.
It was organic this time, but I know you've played that type of game on the show before, so
absolutely. Or just movie quotes, and the funniest thing is one person's not aware it's happening, and either they do know or they don't want to say. This seems like a weird cut. Why would you just randomly say, "Show me the money"? That's out of context. Doesn't make any sense. Why are you mad as hell and you're not going to take it anymore? All right. How are the MMA streets treating you, by the way? I was tempted the other night. I wanted to slide in your DMs and see if you had any winners for me. I don't know anything about MMA, and I'm in a gambling state. I feel like I should be partaking.
Oh yeah, MMA sports betting is a ton of fun. DFS has been going well. I was close to taking down the 100K a couple weeks back. Just needed the main event favorite to pull out a victory. Didn't quite get it done. He dislocated his shoulder in the first round, but yeah, it was a 6-figure swing for me. So rough day there, but we've been close. We'll get there soon.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. It's still sore, right? The subject, I imagine. Just any
good job, Dean.
Yeah, those take a while to get over.
Yeah, well, I apologize. How about yourself, Tim? Have you had any $100,000 swings that you want to talk about that went against you?
No. I almost won the 254 max 2 nights ago. I got passed by that Will Smith who had 30 DK points. Mm-hmm. That ended up costing me. I was up at the top there for a while, but that was my biggest swing. Then last night I had a 3-man national stack that was 1% owned that went completely insane, but so did everybody else on the slate. So I only 3x'd my money when I feel like I could have done a lot better. So, well,
you know what? Today's a new slate. I think I lost money last night, so it could have been worse. But it's that weird thing, and I had it earlier this week, maybe last week, where I had a very profitable slate. But if I just did one little thing different that I was thinking about doing and I didn't do it, I would have won 10K more. And it's Tim, you're not supposed to complain when you have a positive night. And, there's things that are set up against you in this game. And the math says everybody's not supposed to win. And most people aren't going to win. That's just how it goes. Right. But I never really know, even when you win, you can make a reason not to be happy is what I'm saying. I
used to play golf 4 or 5 days a week. And anytime I go out and shoot, whatever I shot, I'd be like, oh man, I wish I didn't miss that putt or that putt. No matter what I shot, I was always like, man, I wish I could have done better. I think it's just part of a natural, human element. It's just how you feel. You always want to do better.
You know what it reminds me of is people when the football season coming up and fans are yeah, sure, we went 9-7 last year. I guess 9-8 now. We went 9-8 last year, but what about this game, and this game, or this happened and this happened and this happened? We should have won those 3. But they never acknowledge the 3 games they should have lost that they actually won, because that hurts their argument. Usually it kind of evens out, kind of, sort of, somewhat. Keith, you know those guys. You met that guy that tells you the 4 times, well, yeah, of course, we should have won these 4 games. We lost them, so we're really an 11-17 or 11-6. My math is bad, apparently.
Yeah, I definitely know some guys like that. But you always have those games in the season where you just feel like you should have won, but other side of the coin, you probably squeaked out a few that you shouldn't have too. So like you said, it kind of all comes out in the wash.
I'm dropping, you guys both wrote an article today at Scores and Odds, little synergy. Let's let the people know what's going on gambling wise.
Mine was yesterday. I think I actually didn't get one in today.
Well, again, I can't math and I can't read. Yeah, you wrote an article. Oh, wait, Tim wrote an article Wednesday. Wait, today, what day is today? Today is Wednesday, correct? It is hump day.
I wrote one today and yesterday.
Tim working hard. Yeah, so I dropped your article in the chat. Scores and Odds. Scores and Odds, of course, a premium product for all your gambling needs, all your sports betting needs. But there are plenty of free articles there as well. And did I just flat out goof? And I thought I saw Keith, your name is in there for something. Oh, Tim has a PGA article as well. Yeah, I bet some PGA stuff. I was following Noto. I got a bunch of players I never heard of, and here we go. And I like to use my free bets on it as well too. You can get because that's Keith. I'm new to the sports gambling here, the legal sports gambling. When you have your free bets, you're supposed to use them on the longer odds, correct?
Yeah, definitely make sure you get some good plus money bets in there. Take advantage of that. I mean,
Brandon Steele.
Free roll. A lot of times you don't get the initial wager back too. So yeah, definitely important to get your money in on the plus odds stuff with those free bets.
I think I bet Brandon Steele.
Do Brandon Steele 150 to 1.
150 to 1 to win the whole thing?
Yep.
I think I bet him like top 10 or something like that. Is 150?
Yeah, I bet him to win, and I bet him top 20. Yeah.
Let's say hello to the chat. What's up, chat? Hit that like button kindly. Subscribe. Turn on those notifications. Interact with us. Whatever's on your mind. Look, we're here for an hour and 25 minutes until the crunch time crew comes in and relieves us. I believe it's Squirrel Patrol coming in. Squirrel Patrol, I saw him yesterday. He didn't flat out bink, but he had a $20,000 hit. Congratulations to him. DerekCarty is going to be on. By the way, I was watching the Mariners game before I jumped on here, and the Mariners booth said that one of the guys goes to the other guy, says, "Hey, the sample size, like you never really know, like what's a good number for you when it comes to sample size?" And the other guy goes, "I don't know, about 100." And the guy goes, "Yeah, that sounds about perfect. 100 at bats." And like
DerekCarty might have something to say about that. Yeah.
I think to see him like throw the remote at the TV when that's happening. Yeah, 100 at bats. There's no way Carty would accept that. He would change the channel immediately. So Carty will be on. Maybe we'll bring that up to him and just kind of tilt a little bit. And of course, Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. And has Roth updated his article from earlier today, because it was a little dicier. A couple games. Let's see. I'm saying words the buy time as I'm pulling up the weather report. Orange, yellow currently in Baltimore. That's a little bit dicey. And it is yellow in Philadelphia. We'll drop this in chat for the people as well. And actually, Colorado, no precipitation issues, but it's going to be hot. And there are winds going out, 10-mile-per-hour winds to left field. It's going to be cores on steroids. I saw the total has been climbing throughout the day. Yeah, now we're at 12.5. And I feel like, wasn't it 11.5, maybe 12? And now the total for St. Louis, according to the RotoGrinders, our lineups page, is almost at 7, 6.94. That's, dude, Tim, we don't see that very often, a 7-team total.
No, that is humongous. But I think it's obviously it's warranted tonight. I mean, the Cardinals are so much better against left-handed hitters than they are pitchers than they are righties. So I think that they're going to be a really tough fade tonight.
So I was looking at it before the show. I was talking to Grant. I'm currently, if you're not aware, you guys know Grant, I'm squatting at his house at this point. But, hey, I'm getting sports gambling. I don't want to go home just yet. I'm enjoying myself. We were talking about the Cardinals versus lefties, and you're talking about them being good, Tim. They are the best team in all of baseball against lefties when it comes to WRC+. WRC+, of course, throws out, the ballpark factors. Our ballpark's not spectacular. And they are by a good margin. I think it was like 139 or so. It's just insane. Arenado, Goldie, O'Neill. There's just plenty of power on that right-hand side. Do we have an official lineup just yet? We might get Pujols.
Don't forget about Pujols. Pujols can still hit those lefties, man.
Yeah, and I'll tell you who forgot about Pujols is DK. He's 2K on DK, and he's 2.8 on FanDuel. Man, it's not hard, Keith, as far as, the overview on this slate. It really is not hard to play Cardinals and to play good pitchers. And why shouldn't I do that? Well, because everybody else is going to do that. But, it's a game of chicken, I guess. But, of course, ownership's going to be a thing. Tell me your assessment, and I'm sure you've noticed the same thing where you can build some really strong lineups where it's just you feel good up and down, pitching and hitting.
Yeah, you really can. And part of that is the Cardinals, Pujols at minimum price. Obviously, you're fading Goldschmidt if you're playing Pujols. So I think that dynamic alone in the Cardinals stack is very interesting today. Do you want to save the money and get the premium pitching, or do you want the premium hitter in Goldschmidt? Being that there's a couple of different ways to build the Cardinals stack, I think I'm going to go overweight on them. Team total near 7. You don't see that often. Just a really great spot for them against the lefty, and Colorado's bullpen is terrible as well. So even if they don't just completely destroy Freeland, they're going to get a bad bullpen in there for several innings too. Probably going overweight there. I think very clearly you have the top 2 pitchers in Verlander and Alcantara, assuming the weather holds for Alcantara. Looks like Roth did bump that game. It got a little bit better since his initial report. I think there was some orange in that forecast when he opened it up today.
Okay.
And now he's saying most of the storms probably hold south. So I think we're going to be able to play.
I'm going to slightly complain. Roth's spectacular. He's amazing. He's very, very useful. I thoroughly appreciate him. But sometimes he puts update in his article and sometimes he doesn't. Can we always put updates? Just let me know it's been updated. I want a timestamp. Is that asking too much? It might be. I don't know.
You're a tough guy to please. You're a tough guy to please, Dean. I mean, you want everything done for you.
Well, I want the weather done for me if I'm the person who's paid to do it. I mean, is that not, maybe that's asking too much? I don't know. But again, does a fabulous job, and he'll be on later, and I'll make sure to let him know what a spectacular job he does. But just if it was from noon or if it's from 3 o'clock or 5 o'clock, it could be a little more helpful. That's all. But I think you're right. I feel like that is changed, and that's why I'm looking at it. It doesn't say update. But I think it was updated? I don't know.
It's definitely been updated. There was orange for sure when I looked at it this morning. So it's been updated. At least the color has been updated. And I assume the write-up was as well when he did that.
There you go. Yeah. And again, Roth will be on in like an hour and 15 minutes, give you guys some clarity as far as what's going on weather-wise. And, of course, he'll give you an update on this update. And, the closer you get the lock, the closer you get the game start, obviously, the more information he has to work with, the better forecast he can give you. All right, Tim. Tim, you focus mostly on single entry stuff, re-entry max stuff. What's your approach as far as the slate? It's pretty clear as far as the fork in the road. And as Keith alluded to, there are different ways of making St. Louis stacks. Like you don't have to just go 1 through 5, and everybody's not going to be 30% owned, of course. Like I don't think. So what is your approach as far as this slate before we kind of dive in and talk about some pitchers?
Well, just to kind of jump off Keith's point, like I'm not gonna play Albert Pujols in my single entry build because of the pinch hit risk. He's got about a 30% pinch hit risk according to the bat, and I think I think I'm just gonna take my chances, kind of going away from him. If he beats me, oh well.
Would he get the hook if he was DHing? Well, he has DH, right? Is that basically all he does these days?
Yeah.
So if a righty comes in. Maybe like who would come in for him? The second baseman probably is not going to start, right?
Yeah, like we don't know who's in the starting lineup yet, but I would imagine that they'll get him out of there like as soon as they can. I mean, really. So
and they'll also run for him too.
Say again.
They can also run for him if he gets on base like in the 7th.
Yeah. Right. So I think that. Like, obviously, he can have a great game. He's 2K. Like, yeah, I get it. But I want to play Goldschmidt. So I'm going to figure out a way, even if I have to get off of Alcantara, I'm going to play Goldie tonight at first base. I was trying to figure out a way to play Goldie and CJ Cron on Fanduel, but I think that's not possible. So I'm not going to do that.
But too, right?
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to play Pujols tonight.
Yeah. I mean, I get the pros and cons of it, salary cap reasons. I understand why. And of course, just like, JD Davis, I was like, well, you can't play JD Davis because once Manai comes out of the game, they're going to give him the hook. He's, just like what San Francisco does. And he homered in the first, second inning, whatever it is. So who cares? He banks a homer and, he pays off his salary. And Pujols, of course, can bang out a homer his first at bat. But yeah, I understand both parts of it. But that is one way to be different in tournaments, obviously. How about pitchers? You kind of it's a 2-horse race, right? As far as pitchers on FanDuel, I'm pulling up the ownership stuff right now, Tim, and wait, you know what? I have the early slate. Woodruff 37% owned. Let's hit the old refresh button here, Dean. You tell me. I'll throw it to you, Tim. Sandy Alcantara, Justin Verlander, and then just a bunch of dudes that kind of falls off a table. I did see a question in chat. Savali, can you play Savali in FanDuel Cash? According to Danny, first of all, no, because he's coming back from an injury and he's going to be limited as far as his pitches, maybe 75 or so. I want to see what the bat has. I think it had like 70 or so before. But in theory, you could throw any pitcher throws the ball with their right hand, you could throw them against Detroit. But if their pitch count is suppressed, I don't know if you can get there. I don't hate him as an SP2 on DK, but Tim, feel free to speak on that. If you have a take on Savali.
You definitely cannot play him on FanDuel. DK, maybe not in cash games, but I think you could absolutely, like most slates, I would completely throw him out of my tournament pool. But this slate, I think he can absolutely be a part of your tournament pool. Like if we project him for 70 to 75 pitches on this slate.
70 pitches flat in the bat.
Okay.
Is what Carty has him at right now.
Yeah. So, okay, let's say he goes 70. I mean, he could easily beat Bumgarner and Syndergaard, who are going to be way higher owned. Or maybe not way higher owned, but they're going to be higher owned. So I think that you absolutely could play Savali on DK.
If I told you you're getting like 12 points at a Savali, no more, no less, do you play him?
Because that might get you an extra premium bat because you are getting an $800 discount. Oh no, I'm sorry. You're getting what? I'm going back to DK now.
FanDuel, obviously not. FanDuel's 12 points.
Yeah.
You don't want that. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
DK.
sorry.
I won't play him because there's somebody cheaper that's going to outscore that.
Ooh, hold on a second. Let's see.
Whoa.
Okay. Here's our contestants. It's Dean Kramer. Okay, let's put him in the back burner. It's not Freeland. We can cross him out. We can just do process elimination. It's not Freeland. It's not Glenn Otto. Ooh, it's either Bubik or Kramer. It's one of those two. Who is it, Bubik or Kramer? Who do you think it is, Tim?
It's Bubik.
It is Bubik.
Yeah, it's Bubik.
Extreme reverse splits, potentially facing 9 right-handed batters. Dude only strikes out 10% of lefties, but he strikes out 21% of righties. And just look at his last 4 starts. He has been at least 16 DK points, I think, in each of his last 4. He's been at least 6 innings in each of those. He's been pitching really well recently. The White Sox are a lot better against left-handed pitching. I get that, but this is a typical lefty. He's extreme reverse splits, and he's going to be facing a bunch of righties today. 5,500
as well.
Yep.
That lineup took a hit.
Yep.
Is there a more disappointing team this year, Keith, than the White Sox? I don't know if there is.
No, I don't think there is either. They were pretty much a lock to win the AL Central, and they're hardly even in contention. Tony La Russa has got to go. I know they've dealt with a ton of injuries, but they have far underperformed expectations for sure.
La Russa, probably comes back next year. That's already been word of that. I mean, he's buddies with the owner, right? Him and Reinsdorf are buddies, and that's why it's happening. And it's getting awkward, and he's falling asleep in the middle of games. And again, why wouldn't you be? He's 80 years old. Of course, it makes sense. But he probably shouldn't be the manager. Harrison leading off, and yeah, you're right. It is. There's one lefty in Gavin Sheets who strikes at a good bit as well. Interesting. I did not consider Bubik, but he is cheap enough, and if things are going okay, he's a guy that can go 6 innings, give or take, and okay, at 5.5K, he kind of makes stuff work. Have you considered, Tim, I know you like doing this on DK, double barreling Verlander and Alcantara? Is that something we can make work?
I wanted to, but when I decided that I wasn't going to play pool host, I decided I just can't do that. It's just not going to happen. So I completely get it if people want to do that. It's completely a fine way to build, but I'm not doing that personally.
How about yourself, Keith?
I'll have a couple teams like that. Yeah. Newt Bar is also really cheap for the Cardinals. He's lefty, but I talked about that Colorado bullpen being really bad. He's getting at least one at bat off the bullpen. There's a couple other cheapies that make it work too. JJ Bleday for the Marlins is 2,300. He's been hitting in the middle of the order. So I think there's enough value out there that you can make it work.
Alan in chat says Keller on DK. Keller's not pitching, right? It's Bubik. What? Oh, Mitch Keller. Never
Mitch
mind.
Keller.
Yeah. Man.
I don't think that that's a very good play, to be honest with you. I prefer a few other guys right around that range better than Keller.
Is Bumgarner going to get owned? He's 6'9".
Yes, he is.
That's exactly why I'm playing Bubich.
Yeah, and I like Bumgarner more, but I can definitely see a way that you could, build some pirate stacks and some leverage stacks, as like a 3-man or something like that on DK.
As like general rules, I'll throw like almost any righty against Detroit, and I'll throw almost any lefty against Pittsburgh.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking.
Bumgarner really puts that rule to the test, Keith. Especially if he's going to be owned, which is like, okay, if nobody's going to play him, well, where do we have him we have him at, we got him at 24% owned right now on DK. We should specify his DK is like an SP2. I imagine from the sound of it, you're going to be under that, Keith.
Significantly under. I will take my chances with Bubich for $1,400 less and 20% less ownership. I'm very happy to take that chance today.
Oh man. In the chat, Cheyenne, any love for Syndergaard, Thor? Man, I was did you take advantage, Keith, of all these Thor bets, like all the stolen bases before the sites finally got sharp to it and shorted those odds, and just some sites stopped even offering it? I'm so bummed that like Jazz is not healthy or Birdie's not available. Birdie I don't know what would his odds be to steal a base against Thor, like even money?
Oh, I don't know if they would be even plus 200 at least, I think, for a stolen base. But yeah, I mean, it's been a printing press here. Like he gives up 3 or 4 a game, it seems like. And you can usually find odds out there around plus 350, plus 400 for stolen bases.
Yeah, I bet a couple. I bet Wendell like 550. Yep. Leading off, he'll get 3 shots, I suppose, and he's not known for being fleet of foot or whatever, but he's willing to steal a bag. And there's a couple. Blade stole a few in the minors. De La Cruz can steal a bag, but it's kind of a bummer. It's like nobody to really take advantage of it. Now we saw Jesus Aguilar steal his very first stolen base of his life in his career against Syndergaard earlier this year. So the Marlins know, like they're aware, like as far as scouting, they're like anybody can run in this guy. They let Aguilar go. What do you think of Thor as far as pitching? Of course, this Marlins lineup's pretty dreadful. You want as many righties as possible if you're going to roster Thor. There's 3 lefties. Wendell's not great. Blade, solid prospect. We're going to see what he is. And Lewin Diaz is been a disaster so far this year. Plenty of strikeouts too. So theoretically, this is a good matchup for Thor.
Yeah, I actually have him rated last between Bumgarner, Barrios, and Bubik and Savelli. So he probably would make my cut in a 150 build, but would not make my cut in a single entry or a 3 max build.
Keith, you're doing your usual 20 lineups in DK. Is that what you're doing?
Yep, that's what I'm doing.
So does Thor crack it? Does he at least get 5%? Does he at least get a nominal head nod at this point, or no?
I don't love his ownership number either, and I don't love the ballpark. If there's any rain risk whatsoever, I'm out. If Roth gives it no issue, 100% clear, gonna play, no chance of a delay, I'll probably have 1 or 2 teams with him, but it won't be very much. I'm gonna take a big stand on Bubich, and if we get Barrios knocked out, that might change a couple of things as well. But I would rather play Bubich and Barrios over Bumgarner and Syndergaard.
What's a big stand? 30% Bubik, 40%? Well, how big we talking?
Yeah, I think 30% sounds about right.
We currently, this is DK. I mean, we have Verlander at 53% owned, and it's not an amazing matchup. It's not a bad matchup. Texas is perfectly average as far as a matchup, and I was going through their stuff, and they're average as far as WOBA and ISO and strikeouts, basically just perfectly neutral matchup. Verlander, you'd like the strikeouts to be a little bit higher for this price, but he also gives you length. He's probably going to stick around for 6-7 innings. He's the biggest favorite on the board. So, not that you need a W, but those 4 points, they're useful for sure. 53% ownership. Are we embracing that, Keith? We're going to be around that. I mean, I think I'm going to be at that, if not higher, because, again, it falls off the table pretty quickly, and it's not that hard to roster. Is sort of my take.
Yeah, I'm going to be above that for sure. I'm going to pay up twice as much as I can, and then I'm going to mix in those cheap guys.
How about yourself?
I actually bet the Verlander K prop, the over. It was 6.5 earlier. I don't know what it is now, but I bet his prop earlier today.
He's just like a more of a professional pitcher than he used to be, right? And he's not the same strikeout machine he once was, but he's also like 40, so it's understandable.
I think like what you said, it's just his leash is so long, and once he gets through Semien and Seager, like if he can get through those two guys without much of a problem, this Rangers lineup is so weak, and like Garcia strikes out like 27% of the time, 28% of the time against righties. So I mean, there are some Ks towards the middle and bottom half of that lineup.
Yeah, and Verlander's kind of reverse splitsy, and they're throwing a bunch of lefties at him.
Right.
So Seager, Lau, Tavares, Viora, Miller as a 5 lefties this season, just historically, for whatever reason. 27.5% strikeouts versus lefties, 23.6 versus righties. Speaking of leash, by the way, Sandy Alcantara, like I feel like he's got several CGSOs or at least complete games this year. It is kind of strange because the Marlins are going nowhere. They don't really have to push him. But I just pulled it up. His average, what do you think it is? Go ahead, Tim. Take a guess. The average number of pitches Alcantara throws per game, per start this year. Set the bar. And then Keith will go over or under. So you got to be exact.
104.
104. That's a big boy number. What do you think? 104, Keith, over or under?
Recently, it's definitely over. I'm considering those first couple starts of the season. I still think it's slightly over that.
So last 4 games, we have Sandy at 104 exactly. And he's actually 7th in the league. Luis Castillo, number 1. But for the entire season, Sandy Alcantara, number 1 in all baseball as far as longest leash, 102.5. So, yeah.
Yeah, a little bit shorter to begin the year. With the short spring training, a lot of guys, it took them a couple starts to ramp up. So that was in my thought process. Should have figured it in there a little more heavily.
Wainwright third, by the way. Old man Adam Wainwright third. Darvish is not young either. He's at 99.2. That's interesting names in there. Corbin Burns, number 2, if you were curious. Who else is there to talk about as far as pitching? Oh, you mentioned Barrios, Keith. Talking about Jose Barrios, who's had an up and down season, I guess we can say.
Yeah, definitely up and down. Terrible start to the season. Got blown up. Didn't make it out of the first inning in his first start, and then had a really rough month or two. Then a switch flipped or something, and he just started striking out a bunch of guys for a couple of starts, and now he's kind of back to he's just not showing up every start. Don't love the matchup against Baltimore necessarily. They've been a much better offense here recently, but I do love the price tag on DraftKings. It's $7,300. This is a guy that can get 10 strikeouts. For tournaments, I don't care about guys that can get blown up. I want guys that can give me the upside, and Barrios has shown it on multiple occasions this year. The ballpark in Baltimore is better than it has been in the past because they moved the fences back. I'm going to play him at this price and just hope that he has the right stuff today and can get me some strikeouts.
Tim, what did you say you got Verlander at? You said 6.5, right?
Yes.
In chat, they're saying it's 7.5 at plus 105 on DK right now. So it sounds like, here's the thing, even if you lose, it sounds like you got closing line value, and that's really worth more than actually winning, isn't it?
They want to take the over 7.5?
Well, it's 7.5 on the over at plus 105 on DK, which doesn't sound nearly as appealing as far as what you got.
Right. I got it at over 6.5 minus 160 at Bet MGM.
I don't like laying that much juice, but I think he'll get there. That's a lot of juice, isn't it, Keith?
It is a lot of juice. When you get lines like that, one thing I like to do, FanDuel in particular has, you can parlay it with the pitcher to win. So if you go Verlander and strikeouts to win, you can usually get that around even money instead of paying the juice on that. A little bit more risk because the bullpen can obviously blow it. Happened to me with Musgrove yesterday. But just something I like to do to avoid a little bit of juice.
You like to do the ladder? Just ladder.
I love the ladder. Yeah.
Oh, isn't it the best?
Yep.
Like, can I say like the most exciting thing in gambling, Keith, and maybe you can confirm, say your guy is at 7.5 strikeouts, and he's at 2 strikes on the batter, and we're at 7 Ks. Like that, is there anything more exhilarating? And it's like the 6th inning, and it's a 7-2 game, and who cares? But that moment is like that's the rush, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, baseball is not the most exciting game. I absolutely love it, and I've always thought it was exciting. A lot of people don't think it's as exciting, but I mean, you just touched on the exact moment right there when you're sweating these strikeout props. Like, there's a random at bat in the 6th inning that could mean everything for you.
Tim, Big Hurt in the chat wants to know your favorite low-owned pitcher for Fanduel tournaments. So let's check the ownership on Fanduel. I'll kind of jump on over there, and I know I kind of mentioned I was going to bring it up in a second, and here we go. 32% on Verlander. So that can't be your answer, Tim, because he's not low-owned. Alcantara's at 18%, Syndergaard's at 14%, Madbum at 14%, Savali at 6%. And again, there's leash concerns. In theory, you want that quality.
You're not going to do Savali. You're not going to do Savali on FanDuel. I don't care how crazy you want to be. I don't think that's a good play. Alcantara at 18%. I think that's a spectacular play. Or you could do Bumgarner, but that's that comes with quite a bit of risk.
What about a single-digit guy, Savali, or you're just not messing with it? Like I'm forcing an answer.
I'm trying to think. Like if I built 150 teams, who would I? Well, I mean Kyle Wright, right? I mean, he's 2% owned.
He's overpriced,
right? But nobody's gonna play. Nobody's gonna play him. And if I was building 150 teams, I might have him in 1 or 2.
What about Pepio? He's really cheap on FanDuel, unplayable on DK at that salary, but he's not going to go deep probably. But there's some strikeout upside. He's cheap on FanDuel. You
can get maybe 5 innings out of him. What is the bat projecting for pitches? My head says like 85. Is that about right? What are we looking at as far as Pepio pitches? You got it in front of you, Keith?
I do if I can find him. That has him at 80.
Yeah, I mean, maybe you get 5-ish out of him. Obviously, you want that quality start, but in theory, whatever you're losing there, you're getting a couple extra sticks, and hopefully those. And there's some expensive bats you want to make work. You want to stack up St. Louis. You want to get the big boys, and you don't want to mess with the Lars Nootbaars of the world. Sure, I hear you. I get it. Yeah, I think that's a good answer. I think Pepio, right? You're playing the ownership game. Boston, of course, not the spectacular team anymore, right? It's kind of fallen off a little bit from the spectacular start, but he's still good. It's just, it seems a little bit overpriced.
He's more of a 24 to 25% K rate guy rather than the 30% K rate guy. It looked like he was going to be this year when he just came out of the gates on fire.
Let's see. Aaron's got a question in chat. Edman or Rogers? Do we have the lineup yet for St. Louis? I'm assuming. Well, who do we think is going to lead off? Is it going to be Carlson once again for St. Louis leading off?
Yeah, I would.
That's what they've been doing recently. Yep.
And we have projected Edman's going to bat in the 2-hole. Okay. He played 9. He batted 9th yesterday, but of course yesterday they started a righty. Tonight they're starting a lefty. Edman's a switch hitter, I know, but kind of flips some other guys, and he sort of moves up by default. Or
they drop Gorman when they're facing a lefty, or Gorman may not even start.
Yeah, I'm going to guess Gorman doesn't start, but we'll see. Or Rogers, Brendan Rogers versus Quintana on the other side, who I think is a good play. You got a preference amongst those two, Keith, as far as cash? They're both fine cash options.
Yes, they are both fine cash options. For cash, I think I would lean to Edman, but tournaments, I do prefer Rogers.
Let's see. Crispy in chat. Y'all really playing Bubik. Keith is.
I am.
And I get it. You've kind of talked me onto it a little bit. If I need to save some salary, especially if he's going to be distinctly lower owned than Mad Bum, and I still might play Savali on DK. I'd like to get some sort of report. But, Cleveland's going nowhere. He did throw 4 innings in the minors as one rehab start, which is not great, but maybe that means he can throw 5 in the majors. I'm not sure. Trying to see anything else in the chat as far as pitchers, but it's pretty straightforward, Tim. Is there anything else that's worth saying here, that worth talking about, worth pointing out?
I think Barrios is cash game viable on DK if the weather gets better. I would have him on the list for cash for GPPs, but I'm not gonna, like he said it too. If there's any kind of weather concern, I'm not gonna touch that situation. But if for some reason we get a better report before lock, then I think he's in the conversation for cash and tournaments.
I'm getting some notifications dinging. Let's see. Okay, by the way, we talk about Pepio. There's no Buxton. Minnesota's resting Buxton today. It's and Beckham's playing too, which is he's not good. Arise, Correa, Polanco, Kepler, Miranda, Gordon, Cave, Beckham, and Sanchez. There's some strikeouts there at the bottom of the lineup. Arise is obviously pretty annoying because he doesn't strike out at all. Again, Pepio is more of a FanDuel thing. DK wise, I think he's got a really goofy price, right?
Yeah, he's over 10K, I'm pretty sure. 10-3.
He's 10-3. I mean, come on. What are we doing here? Somebody misclicked something, but the same guy that made Pujols 2K made Pepio 10-3, I suppose. But on FanDuel, yeah, I think he's in play at 6K against that Minnesota lineup. Does that move the needle much for you, Keith? Like no Buxton? Like he's obviously a key cog in their offense.
Yeah, I mean, it helps just as far as a run prevention, but Buxton strikes out plenty too. So, I mean, he is their best hitter, I would say. So I think it helps him get a little bit deeper, but probably takes away a strikeout.
Yeah. Well, what if they added Beckham?
Yeah, I mean, he should get through the lineup 2 times. Pretty unlikely he goes through a 3rd time through the order. So those guys at the bottom, he probably only faces twice.
Good point. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Detroit also just dropped their lineup. Green leading off, Reyes, Baez, Castro, Haas, Carpenter. Who's Carpenter on Detroit? Candelario, Scope, and Badu. Who's Carpenter? Do I know who Carpenter is? You guys know Carpenter on Detroit?
Not ringing any bells.
I'm not sure if I know who that is. It is always weird. Like you feel like you're like, you know, the sport and you follow everything and you're this quote unquote expert. It's like, I don't know. I have no clue this guy is.
Kerry Carpenter?
He's not in the player pool.
Kerry Carpenter. Okay. All right. I don't know who that is. I'm going to fire up the Fangraphs and see if, but they're not. He's not in the FanDuel or DK player pool. Okay.
He's not on DK.
12% strikeout rate in AAA, but a 27% strikeout in AA, both this season. That seems odd.
Usually the bat on Fangraphs will like project what they would be in the majors as far as a strikeout perspective. And I talked to Carty about this. When it's players that weren't expected to be up this year, they're expected to come in, next year or whatever. They don't have a projection, and he doesn't have a projection. So maybe he's ahead of schedule, or I don't know. He's 24 years old, 19th rounder, not a lot of pedigree, but okay.
He has 30 home runs this year between AA and AAA.
It seems like a lot of homers. That's like the dude for Philadelphia. I can't think of his name for some reason. Before he got called up,
Derek
Hall.
Yeah, Hall, like 20 plus, I think, before he got called up. Give me the summary here, Keith, as far as pitchers.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you're paying up as much as you can. Verlander and Alcantara, both very safe, long leashes. Check the weather for Alcantara. Hopefully that recent improvement from Roth means that we're going to be able to play him. I think after those two, you can do pretty much anything that you want. Popular salary savers are going to be Jose Barrios, Noah Syndergaard, Madison Bumgarner. I'm doing some crazy things like going off the board and playing some Chris Bubich.
Yeah, and I might tail that if I happen to need it. I don't think it's the worst.
Savali's in there too. I didn't mean to leave him out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel safer about some. Well, I hate the word safe because Savali's not very good, especially. I think he's
but the matchup helps. Like it's a safe matchup, I would say.
So on the year, it's small sample stuff, right? 54 innings. Savali's got a 6.17 ERA, but the BABIP's kind of high at 3.10. ERA is 5.19, but the Sierra is 3.97. Yeah, so which is better? I don't know. Just 3.95. Actually, I misread that, but yeah. Just because it's anybody against Detroit, a right-hander against Detroit, just you should feel okay about it, unless this Carpenter character has something to say about it. But I'm not afraid of him. All right, let's talk about stacks. Favorite stacks you have, and Biggert says, can Bumgarner get the quality start on FanDuel? He can. Like, they'll let him go. Like, he's going to eat some innings. They're paying him a bunch of money. I don't know if he will. He can.
He definitely has the leash to do it. I mean, he definitely can. He definitely can. I think the bat has him projected for something like 20 innings. So, I mean, it's definitely doable.
We talked about it before, Tim, as far as the stacks, really, really clear. And also, we should acknowledge Colorado. I didn't acknowledge them much last night, and that's why I did not win a lot of American dollars on the DK and FanDuel slates. Colorado absolutely smashed. Nicholas was awesome in his post game. I don't know if you guys caught that. Just like so, like nonchalant. He's just like, yeah. He basically said I got BABIP to death, and like, yeah, they just hit some bleeders, and that's going to happen. And tip of the cap, and I already forgot about it. And let's move on. He didn't care. Love Nicholas. The Lizard King. They called him that when he played over there in Asia because he allegedly ate a lizard. Not to be confused with Jim Morrison, also known as a Lizard King many years ago. Hey, Tim, so we have St. Louis, the number one consensus, rankings, no surprise as far as the stacks. Atlanta's number 2 in our consensus rankings, then Houston, Colorado, Toronto, the Dodgers, and a little bit of love from STL Cards for the White Sox. Is that correct? Do you agree with that? What team should be on there? What team is too high? St. Louis, Atlanta, Houston, Colorado, Toronto, Dodgers.
I think those are all pretty much where they should be. Obviously, St. Louis is your number 1. I really like Atlanta today. I know the consensus agrees with me. I also, one team that is not really getting any love from anything is Cleveland against
Love that.
Yeah, Drew Hutchison. Like J-Ram is going to go completely unowned today. I think that he always has slate breaking upside. So I think that Cleveland stack is like a really good way to get like super, super different. They have a very, it's like they're priced kind of like in the mid range. So I think they'll go very, very low on today.
So here's my issue with Cleveland. Hutchinson might be the worst pitcher throwing baseballs today, or potentially. I think he's on the podium for being like bottom 3 worst pitchers throwing baseball. But Tim, you tell me, I never know how to stack Cleveland. And then there's no Franmil anymore, which is either good or bad. I would always use him, and he would always strike out 9 times. But like, look at this Cleveland lineup, and just am I just supposed to like blind faith play Stephen Kwan? Like, I don't want him in my stack. Like he needs 3 events to finally get there. Naylor's got some power, and J-Ram's awesome, but maybe it's a mini stack for me. Tell me how to fully stack Cleveland.
Well, it's a mini stack you could do. You could also punt, people love to punt, like Austin Hedges at catcher. I really like that 2 through 6 lineup. I agree with you about Kwan. Like I don't think you should pay that high a price for 2 singles. So, but I think that 2 through 6 stack is really nice. I don't know much about this Will Benson guy, but he's min priced. I'd like to see what his pinch hit risk is, but it at least makes the stack price go way down. So I agree with you about Kwan, but I think this team is very stackable.
Benson this year, 401 minor league appearances, 17 homers and 16 stolen bases. So, he's got a DFS game. Does he have a? Yeah, I mean that could be useful. And I talk about Hudson being possibly one of the worst pitchers pitching today. He's at the highest Sierra amongst the pitchers pitching tonight, 5.28. Stacking against him, he doesn't strike anybody out, 14.6%, and his walks are alarming at 11.3%. He's been super lucky as far as homering the fly ball, 7.6%. Left on base, 67. That's a little bit unlucky actually. But
to be clear, they're not. There's a lot of really good offenses today, but if Cleveland's going to be this low owned, you don't have to use a ton of your portfolio to be over the weight on them. So I think they're worth getting a little overweight on.
You could possibly just move Arenado to J-Ram, and that's one way to be different.
Yep. Yes.
That seems like a thought.
Or play that Will Benson guy over Nootbaar, or if we get some kind of other value other than Pujols, you could sprinkle in some Benson over the cheap Cardinal guy.
You got a Cleveland take there, Keith?
Yeah, I love it. I did the rankings today. They just missed my top 5. They would have been 6th, absolutely, very clear cut 6th for me. And it's what they allow you to do with the build. I think it's pretty easy to play both Alcantara and Verlander with them, because you throw guys like Benson, Nolan Jones into your stack with the J-Ram and Naylor that have the upside. You get a cheap home run from one of those punt guys, and I think you're in business.
Yeah, Jones is supposed to have some power as well too.
Yep.
He's only got a couple of homers so far in the majors, and 23 games, 108 plate appearances, 3 homers in the minors, 13 last season in AAA, in 400 plate appearances. There's some, and a little bit of stolen base possibility. He did swipe 10 bags that year, none so far in the majors, so maybe that's not really a thing that's going to happen. I'm pulling up your rankings now, Keith. You had St. Louis, Atlanta, Houston, Colorado, Toronto. By the way, I almost bet this before the show was going to, and I got distracted. You like Atlanta, I like Atlanta. I think it was Pavetta under 17.5 outs, or maybe 16.5 outs.
It's 17.5. Yeah, I bet that -110 at DK.
Yeah, you feel good about that one as well, Keith? I think that's a good bet.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah, Atlanta is they're your second favorites. The weather not as good.
Yeah, I did have Houston second, but I heard you tilting this yesterday, and I just want to bring it up again. Why is Trey Mancini not playing? Like, he is built for this ballpark. It was a fantastic trade, I thought.
Yeah.
And now he's not playing. I don't know if he's dinged up or if Dusty Baker's just not very bright.
I thought you were going to say, I thought you were going to be like the whole Gurriel thing. I keep smashing Gurriel batting second. Like, what are we doing here? Like,
That too.
Al Tucker hitting behind Yoli Gurriel. Like,
yeah.
Blows my mind. Like, Dusty Baker knows so much more about baseball than I do. But, like, come on. What are we doing here? Yeah. Is Ray going to come back out for another inning? I'm just derailing the show because I accidentally double-clicked and double-bet his strikeouts. And he's at 7. I need one more. Come on, Robbie. 96 pitches. They've scored one run in the last 20 innings, these two teams.
96 in a tie game. He's coming back for you.
All right. You know what? You're making the call for me. He's got the bottom of the lineup too. Andahar, IKF, and Higashioka. Come on. Go out there. We laddered that bad boy, so give me one more inning out of Ray. And the bullpen got beat up
maybe strikes out the side.
I just want to say one more thing about Cleveland. Nolan Jones has a huge pinch hit risk. He's like number 3 or 4 on the bat as the most risky. But Will Benson is under 10%. So if you have to choose between the two, I'd rather take the savings and go with Will Benson.
Do want to remind those in chat to kindly hit the like button, do subscribe, do turn on those notifications. It helps with my ego. I don't like to beg and grovel, but if it's only like 5, I don't know what the number of likes are right now. I'm not looking at it, but I feel bad about it. We want to make sure to get the likes up for when DerekCarty shows up. We got Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth, who will give you an update of his update with the weather, tell you guys what's going on in Philadelphia, amongst other places. And I believe SquirrelPatrol, fresh off his 20K victory last night. He's back. He didn't quit. He didn't just say, you know what, I'm done. That's it. I'm set for life. He's back. He's coming back to work tonight. Do want to mention NFL preseason. If you guys are not aware, we have NFL preseason content. Sean Newsham, PSU fans too. He's bringing you his knowledge, his analysis, and he actually banked the first showdown season. What was it, Cleveland? Or I didn't watch it. I don't know who it was. Somebody, a game in
Jacksonville,
Ohio.
Las Vegas.
Did you get any action on that?
I played it. I won.
I played the lineups. Yep. Our projections are great for it. You need to play it.
I probably should be because I saw somebody on Twitter talking about it.
PSU's awesome.
There's a lot of dead money out there because people just they're not on top of the beats. They're not on top of like who's in and who's out, who's going to play so many series, and dude's in shorts and he's 20% owned.
Yep, it's absolutely it's pretty much rake free because you're going to get the guys that play Devontae Adams and Derek Carr when they don't even play a series.
Does the site say out? It doesn't say out, or there's nothing next to it, or is there notes by it?
Nope.
Oh man, I should start playing this nonsense. Yeah, why not? I mean, look, I'll play anything if it's profitable. Like, sure, CG go.
Yeah, I would have had a takedown. I had the wrong quarterback. I had Luton instead of who went nuts. I think it was Sloter that went nuts. But if I had flipped the quarterbacks, I would have had a decent takedown.
Well, there you go. All right, so you guys talked me into it. I'm going to be playing some preseason NFL. There's probably some big slates coming up, I guess, this weekend. I imagine.
Yeah, I think Friday there's quite a few games.
All right. Well, check it out. And also get in the Discord channel because that's where like news is dropping and like people are dropping like, Twitter stuff from the beats and telling you the important things. It really is important as far as the beats at this point when it comes to preseason, who's going to get how many reps and yada, yada. They'll tell them the best of their knowledge, obviously. Fanduel Single Entry Series also is continuing. You guys know today, I think it's the $5 variety. It sold out last night. I'm not sure if it's sold out, but it's going to sell out soon. It'll sell out at some point tonight, probably the first contest that sells out on FanDuel. Just added value there, $50,000. bonus cash up for grabs. You finish first in the Fanduel single entry series this week. You win yourself a trip to Chicago. I believe, Keith, that's your old stomping grounds. Or are you just a Cubs fan? You're from the peripheral area? You from Chicago?
Peripheral area, yeah, about 100 miles west.
There you go. Shout out Chicago. Yeah, you win yourself a trip there at the single entry series, $10,000 up top, $50,000 total prize pool. It's all added value onto the actual single entry contest. You're not putting anything in addition to, as far as that prize pool is not getting backloaded to this trip, like say a live final would be. So they'll go ahead and have that on FanDuel, have at it, throw your $5 at it. We're going to go around the horn. Whatever's on chat's mind, by all means, we have plenty of time. 30 minutes.
We did get the Cardinals lineup, and there's no surprises. It's like exactly what we had projected.
So who else is in?
Yep, who else is in, and every new bar's batting 9, and the same as our projected lineup.
Carlson, Edmund, Goldie, Arenado, Pujols, O'Neill, DeYoung, Molina, who's like 2K on DK. Like, not that he's good, but he's 2K. And then there's Nuke Bar. What are we waiting on any other? I guess the Dodgers, obviously. Is there any other big like lineup stuff we're waiting for? I think we basically got everything. I'm putting a refresh. The Pirates, who could be interesting. Like, is there theoretically, Keith? You clearly are not on Mad Bum, and this is the same sort of quandary I had with Cleveland. It's like, well, okay, I want to pick on Mad Bum. How do I do that?
Yeah, it's tough with an offense that is not very talented. I think a mini stack would be the way to do it. I don't mind Brian Reynolds. He'd be my favorite option. Brian Hayes has had a really rough season, but he showed some promise last year. Yeah, there's nothing to love there. And I don't need to full stack it for the leverage. Like I would maybe just pick out a 2 or 3 man stack from it. I just don't think the full stack has enough upside.
O'Neill Cruz is like a 50% strikeout rate, small samples.
Yeah,
but
lefty. He's
a mess right now. Like, when you watch him, he's not great versus lefties. I love him. I love him going forward. But
Chavis has some power. Be a great pivot off of Pujols. Minimum price.
And Newman, like, if you hate rostering Stephen Kwan, you're really gonna hate rostering Kevin Newman. Like, he's like a worse version of Kwan. I don't want any part of that, and he probably leads off. All right, let's go around the horn position by position, and again, we're gonna have plenty of time for any sort of strategy questions y'all have in the chats. Nestor is dealing. Both those guys are dealing. Nestor and Robbie Ray, I believe they're going. Actually, they just gave a homer, right? Haggerty hit a homer for Seattle. So it's currently 1-0, top of the 7th for the Mariners. And that bullpen worked pretty hard last night. So maybe we should bring Ray out for one more inning.
That hurts your chances, I think. Now he's in line for the win. He might just shut it down.
Oh, come on. His pants are extra tight today. He's good to go. Oh, he's still out there. Come on, Robbie.
There you go.
Let's get that ladder. It's Andujar and IKF and Higashioka. He should just breeze through these guys. Ball one. Now here I'm tilting. This is what I was talking about. This is the moment. This you're watching me
live. It's fantastic.
This is the rush where he gives them 2 hits and they give him the hook and he lands on 7 strikeouts. All right. Around the horn, position by position. What do we have here? We have catchers. Keith, I know you're excited to roster yourself some catchers tonight.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of decent here. Alejandro Kirk is a little bit underpriced for the way he's been hitting this year. Yachty is near minimum price in Coors, can certainly go that route. If the Baltimore game plays, I absolutely love the spot for Adley Rutschman. He has been destroying right-handed pitching over the last 30 days or so. Berrios has struggled against lefties this season, so I love Rutschman. Both of the Royals guys are in play, Melendez and Sal Perez. A little bit of pop from each of those. Those will be my primary guys. If you want to do Gary Sanchez, I suppose he's in play just because there's some power there, but it's been a rough go for Gary.
How bad are his numbers this year? I feel like they're horrendous.
They are.
Okay.
Yeah.
Like, theoretically, he's supposed to have at least the ability to bang out some homers, and I guess that's been happening somewhat against righties this year. 187 ISO is not horrific. Okay, he strikes out a good bit too. He's not going to walk either. The WOBA's not good, so it's a homer or nothing, and there is some power in that bat. So all right, fair enough.
87 WRC plus, so about 13% worse than the average hitter.
Yeah, that's not good. It's 0-2 on IKF. Come on, let's do it, Robbie. Tighten those pants. All right. What do we have here, Tim, as far as catcher? What do you want to add?
I agree with Keith. I think that Molina is probably your cash game guy today. The only other catcher that I would name that Keith didn't name is William Contreras for the Braves. I absolutely love Atlanta today. They just seem a little bit underpriced. I think there's like some good value with them. Like I think Acuna is under 5K on DK. I know we're not there yet, but I just love this Braves team as a whole.
You know, Acuna this year, I'm trying to his ISO versus righties is 122. That's not good. That is actually the second worst in that Atlanta lineup. Only ahead of Eddie Rosario. He has
been really bad from a power standpoint this year, but he still produces decent fantasy numbers.
Well, he's stealing bases. Like he's always stealing when he gets on too.
And that's the thing. Like I don't think he's hurt, so I think that he has. He's still going to be okay. Like if he wasn't stealing bases, I'd say maybe he's battling an injury, but I don't know. I think he's okay, and I think he's just going through a rough patch.
I'd be curious what the exit.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't hear what I was just going to say. I'd be curious what his exit velocity stuff looks like. Like, is he still hitting the ball as hard as he was last year? I haven't had a chance to look at it.
42.7% versus righties, so that's good. I haven't done look his baseball savant stuff. By the way, Contreras is the guy with the highest ISO on the team, which against righties. He's been awesome this year. I got to scroll here. I'm scrolling on over. Using the old fancy plate IQ, 293 ISO, 348 WOBA, striking out obviously a ton, 29.7%. But I like Contreras a good bit, especially if you're stacking Atlanta. We got the pitch from Robbie Ray. Oh, he's going 3-2. I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I'm not being professional, but there's probably like one other person out there watching doing the same thing. And it's like tilting Robbie Ray and building some DFS lineups as well. Let's jump to first. First is obviously much more interesting. We should note the Kansas City-Chicago game. I don't know what Fanduel did, but they put that game on the early slate, but like you couldn't play it on the early slate, and now it's not on the night slate unless they added it at some point. They didn't add it, right?
Is it on the main slate now, Dean?
I don't think so.
They have not added it. I checked right before we came on because I saw there's some weird stuff going on there that they had the start time wrong originally, which is why it ended up on the early slate. But then they changed the start time, but it's still not on the main slate as far as I can tell. Yeah,
they played a doubleheader yesterday, and I don't know what mixed them up, but what I'm getting at here is Vinny Pasquantino, and so you're spending all the way up, Keith, at first, right, for Goldie, or you can save with we can save with Pujols, or secret door C, Vinny Pasquantino indefinitely from now until forever is going to be 2.1K on DK, and he's never going to homer for me, but I'm going to keep rostering him. Those are like my three favorites at first. And like, of course, you can play Vlad and he might get lost to some degree on this slate because if you're going to spend up on Goldie because of cores and lefties and yada, yada. What's your thought on that from the start? Like, you have a Pujols versus Vinny, the Italian nightmare. Who's your preference as far as punt first baseman?
I think it's Pujols just because of the cores effect. I get that there's some pinch hit risk there. But he's going to get two at bats off of Freeland at least. I'm looking for him to go yard in one of those two at bats. Maybe they leave him in the game and he gets 3 or 4 at bats. But I definitely think there is some risk that he gets pulled. Still a little slightly for me though.
How about just your overall assessment as far as first base?
Yeah, Goldschmidt clearly the top option. Just has had a phenomenal year. Smashes lefties in cores. Can't get any better of a spot. I love Vlad too, assuming that we can play that game. Kramer gives up a ton of fly balls. Vlad's got plenty of power. Good spot for him. CJ Cron in cores against the lefty. Only 4,700 on DK. Really like that price tag. Josh Naylor, I think, is definitely part of your Cleveland stacks at 4K. Christian Walker can find a cheap home run there. Keller giving up plenty of hard contact. And Elleries Montero for Colorado, probably play him at third. I think first is a little bit stronger. He does have third base eligibility as well. Don't love that he's down in the 8 hole, but he's in cores and he's got some pop.
Yeah, I bet him at like almost 6-1 to hit a homer today. I was kind of bummed he was buried in the 8 hole, but Plenty of power he's shown in the minors. Jump in here, Tim, as far as first. What's your assessment?
Paul Goldschmidt's the top priority. I would disagree with Keith. I'd rather play Pescatino at first over Pujols. That's just another reason why I don't want to play Pujols. Is that if I'm gonna play Goldie, but if you wanted a punt position, then I think that you should go with Pescatino at first. CJ Cron, I'm not sure what his ownership's going to be, but I would try to at least match the field with him. He's in an unbelievable spot. He comes at a really good discount from Goldie and Vlad. I think you're going to have to listen to Roth and see what he says about that Blue Jays game, because let's say that Roth says it's too risky even for bats. Maybe I put like 1% of my portfolio in a Blue Jay stack, or 2% or something like that. Either stack them or completely fade it. But they're obviously in a good spot. I think Keith pretty much did all the other ones.
3-2 to Higashioka. He walked IKF. This is his last batter. This is it. He's got to do it here, Robbie. Tighten those pants up. Let's just make one more good pitch. It's Higashioka. Let's knock this out. He's at 113 pitches. Ownership-wise, by the way, Cron is at less than 10% basically on DK. Pujols at 11%. Goldie at 16%. Vinny Pasquantino, get foul, is 4%. Freddie Freeman, nobody's playing. Just acknowledging that Freddie Freeman's playing baseball tonight. He's good. The matchup's not particularly difficult. Nobody's playing him. Dodgers, just as a general thought, I think they're going to be completely hidden in this slate, and you can always load them Dodgers 1 through 9 as well. No LA lineup just yet. We did get a Pittsburgh lineup. O'Neal Cruz is not in there because he's really scuffled versus lefties. Newman leading off. Reynolds, Hayes, Gamble, Chavis, Castro, Allen, Marcano, Delay. It's such a terrible lineup. But yeah, Reynolds and Hayes, I guess, against Mad Bum. And that's a 2-run homer. Here comes the hook for Robbie Ray. That Castellanos goes deep. I don't know if I'm going to be here tomorrow. Anything else as far as first, or shall we move on, Tim?
I think we can move on to second.
Oh, jeez. Can I rip my tickets up? Look. All right. We got second base, keystone position, Tim. Give it to us.
Yeah, so Tommy Edmonds, definitely your cash game priority. Second base, it just seems like every single night is very weak. I don't know what's going on, but it just seems like it's constantly a weak position. Brandon Rogers, I really like that 3, 4, 5 stat for the Rockies today. I don't know. It's pretty ugly. There's I don't really want to pay down for anyone that's super cheap. If Edmonds, chalk, then so be it. I mean, I would just get overweight him. I'm looking down the list, and it's just really, really ugly. So, I mean, I think that Jorge Polanco is a decent play, and I think he's only 3,100 on FanDuel too. So I think
DK.
What's that?
3.9 on DK. He's a fair price on both sides.
Yeah, so I mean, I think he's okay, but I would way prefer getting to the cores guys.
According to our ownership stuff, this is DK specific. Rogers and Edmond both coming in around 17%. No surprise, both second baseman and cores. Altuve versus Otto. I believe Otto's been reverse splitsy, leading off there. Crawford, Burks, boxes, yada, yada. 13% for him. Polanco at 10. Harrison's leading off for Chicago. It's not great, but he's leading off, and theoretically, if they hit well enough, he can get himself 5 ABs. Christian Arroyo is still 2K and still batting 6th. He banged out a homer for y'all yesterday if you played him. But yeah, I don't think Semien is completely crazy if you want to get off the board. You don't necessarily want to pick on Verlander, but if he's going to give him some fly balls and he can be reverse splitsy. So, and again,
he's very reverse split. So I think that's a really good call for a large field setting.
Yeah, I don't mind. I'm not going to fully, pick on Verlander, but as a one-off, I think Semien's kind of sort of somewhat interesting in one of my tournament lineups. What say you, Keith?
Cores guys are definitely the priorities, top options here. I do like Altuve a good amount as well if I can afford him. Agree. I like the Polanco value. Pepio is a guy that has struck out a ton of guys, but he has also walked a ton of guys. So I don't mind this Minnesota stack. I think there's some upside there if Pepio doesn't have the control. Andres Jimenez for Cleveland. I think you can play him in a stack. We talked about liking that Cleveland stack. I don't love Arizona, but Ketel Marte, and I don't love the price on Marte either. But he has some power and some speed there. Don't mind that one.
Let's jump on to third base. Again, we're going to have plenty of time to talk all sorts of whatever questions you guys have. Feel free to fire them off there in chat. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Turn on those notifications. 20 minutes until we get Roth and DerekCarty as well as SquirrelPatrol. Here's a question. Derek, well, I'll ask you, Keith. DK tournaments, GPP with a Cardinal stack. Now, it's the Cardinal stack, right? So it's going to be chalky depending on, but assume it's kind of chalky. What 2v2 do you prefer? You got Hedges and Betts versus Chris Taylor / good catcher. I don't know. I just read, man.
Well, what was the first one?
Hedges, bad catcher and Betts, or Taylor and good catcher.
I would rather punt catcher, unless you have like Taylor doesn't really do much for me. So I'd take the upside with Betts, punt catcher. Maybe Hedges hits you a home run and you get lucky and that vaults you to the top. But I think catcher would be the preferred spot to punt.
I think we just got the Dodgers. We did. Betts is leading off. Trey Turner, Freeman, good catcher. Will Smith batting fourth. Muncy, by the way, speaking of Muncy, I like him on Fanduel. He's at 2.7 over there. And he banged out a homer, got a double yesterday as well, too. I know the season's been kind of up and down, mostly down. But, theoretically, he is too cheap. Justin Turner back at the DH spot. He came back last night, coming back for game 2 for him, and they're running out. Lux in the 7 spot. Taylor, they're doing left, right, left. Lux, Taylor, Bellinger. No Gallo there for the Dodgers. Third base. Keith, let me throw it to you.
Yeah, I kind of said third base wasn't as loaded as first, but as I'm looking through this, it's every bit as loaded as first. There's some great plays here. Nolan Arenado is very clearly at the top. Matchup in Coors against the lefty. We've been doing this for years with Arenado. Jose Ramirez is in a phenomenal spot against Hutchinson, who doesn't strike anybody out. Austin Riley against the fly balls of Pavetta in Fenway Park is a phenomenal option. Matt Chapman has been hot. He gets a fly ball pitcher in Camden Yards against Kramer. Like that one a good amount. You just mentioned Muncy. Really like his price on FanDuel. He's fine on DK at 4,500 as well. Bregman at 5,100 is a decent option. And then Montero for the Rockies, I mentioned at first.
All right, jump in here, Tim. Third base.
Yeah, I mean, third base is absolutely loaded today. Like this would be a position to spread out some of your one-offs to get away from Arenado. Not that I'm saying to get away from Arenado, but if you're building a lot of teams, this is where you can say, like you said earlier, Dean, like you can one-off J-Ram, you can one-off Devers, you can one-off Riley. I bet the Riley over 1.5 total bases today. Like I'm so on the Braves today. Like there's such a good pivot off of Coors today. I'm pretty sure they're gonna shell Pavetta. So I love them. I love Cabrian Hayes, but I don't want to pay down at third. So I don't see. I think unless you're stacking the Pirates or doing a little 3-man of the Pirates, then you should be playing him. But good call, Max Muncy, and yes, he is way too cheap on FanDuel, and I missed that at second base.
Hey, Tim, this is a good question because you're talking about how much you like Atlanta. Matt's in chat. He's saying, fading cores and high stakes, dumb or dumb? And I presume that's like high stakes, single entry or 3-entry max, and, not a field greater than maybe 500 or 1,000 people. And we all know in all the sports, even in baseball, like the ownership, whatever the chalk happens to be, it's going to rise, it's going to condense, it's going to be more heavily owned. And these, large entry fee, single entry, 3-entry max. So how do you handle that? And if you like Atlanta's going to be mostly ignored in that kind of format. So what do you think? He's saying dumb or dumb, and it's kind of a jokey question. I understand what he's asking though. What is your thought on fading cores? And that's also you can interpret that different ways. You can have 5 guys in cores. You can have 2 or you can have a little mini stack of 3 guys if you want to do that, or a one-off if you want to do that. What's your thought process here? I'm
definitely a DFS player that plays Coors Field quite a bit. But I think tonight it's not dumb at all to play Atlanta. If they can get to Pivetta early, this Red Sox bullpen is so bad, and it's just, you're obviously taking a risk from a raw points projection standpoint, and in that capacity, it is dumb. But you're not playing; you're playing against other people. So if St. Louis doesn't do that well, you're gonna kneecap half the field. So I do not think it's dumb tonight.
Keith, you got a thought on that?
Yeah, Tim made some excellent points. I think you can look at it as if the St. Louis stack is 20% owned and the Atlanta stack is 5% owned. If you get that much right, you're that much further ahead of the rest of the field. Whereas if you get St. Louis right, you still have 20% of the field that you're competing with. So it's kind of that what do you win when you win type of thing. Like you could get the St. Louis stack right and miss a starting pitcher and not win anything. Where if you have Atlanta and they go off and they're the best scoring team on the slate, you're so far ahead of the field, you can afford a couple other mistakes in your lineup.
So context is so important with questions like that because it's your bankroll. So if you're playing responsibly and you don't mind the fact that you're gonna be giving up a ton in raw projection, and that you have a chance of losing, getting crushed by the field. If St. Louis goes off, you're toast. You're getting 0 tonight. You're not getting any money back. That's up to you. If you want to try to go for all the money, then yeah, go for it. It's not dumb at all.
Tim, you said you're playing Atlanta, or it sounds like you like Atlanta.
I'm conflicted because I'm a big believer in cores. Mm-hmm. So I'm conflicted really by those two teams tonight.
You see who's betting 9th for the Braves today? It's not the standard person who bets 9th for him, but Vaughn Grissom. Are you aware? He's 2K on DK and a shortstop. Michael Harris got bumped all the way up to the 8th spot. He's been spectacular. Grissom in the minors this year. I think this has got to be his MLB debut. I don't think I've heard of this person.
It is, and he's a pretty good prospect, if I recall.
He's a big time prospect. Sorry,
I think he's the top prospect.
Oh, he's number 1 according to Fangraphs.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a huge prospect.
I presume that was from the start of the season. 21 years old. He was just an 11th rounder in 2019, but I guess he's kind of flew through that system. Interesting. And he's 2K. All right. And he's shortstop. Okay. Yeah. If you're that could be a cheap way to make stuff work. And
to be honest with you, I'm trying, I haven't really dug into it yet, but I'm going to real quick after the show, want to try to find a way to get some of both the Cardinals and Atlanta. I don't know if it's possible, but I'm going to try.
So this year, he's only played single A and double A. He's skipping triple A. If you combine single A and double A, this is Grissom. 14 homers and 27 stolen bases. Not really striking out either. 11.6% in single A. Obviously, single A, much different world than the majors, 14.3% in double A. But yeah, man, you give me a legit prospect for 2K. And, if you want to wrap it around as well, too, of course, Acuna, Swanson, Riley, Olsen. This Atlanta lineup through and through, 1 through 9 is legit. And I think I'm going to bet their team total over, too, if it's 4.5 or 5, whatever it is, and you can bet it over on some alt lines. I was looking at betting them over first 5, and let's pick on some Pivetta. You talked me into it, Tim, and I think Grissom's better than who else would be in there. Or I think Garcia got hurt for him. I guess that's what we called up, right? Is that what happened there, Keith?
I think that is what happened. Yep.
Are we done with third? I think we're jumping to shortstop. Is that correct, Keith?
Yep. Let's move it on.
All right. Well, there you go. Vaughn Grissom, you can play him at shortstop on DK. I don't know if he's available on FanDuel. I don't think he is because, according to our player page, we only have a price on DraftKings. But, Keith, of course, DeYoung is one of your salary savers. So that's one way to be different. And DeYoung is an all-or-nothing guy. He gets nothing a lot, but he also hits a lot of homers, too. At least of late he has in the minors, too. Shortstop, Keith, go for it.
Yeah, DeYoung's price jumps out in Coors Field. I do like the idea. He's a guy that strikes out a lot. He's one of the ones I think that you could fade. Obviously, if he hits a home run, you're going to want him. But there's a good chance that he strikes out a couple of times and just doesn't get it done today. Going to love Edman has shortstop eligibility as well. Another Cardinals guy. Play him at second and DeYoung at short if you want both of them. Dansby Swanson, phenomenal for the Braves. We've been talking about Braves all show. Nobody's playing Trey Turner today. 5,500. Don't mind that. Talked about that Minnesota stack a little bit. Yeah, I like his price a good amount. I will have some of him. Bo Bichette against the fly ball guy in Baltimore. Definitely like him. Jeremy Pena in your Astros stack. He's down 2-6, but still having a pretty decent year.
Tim?
Yeah, it's going to come down to Trent Grisham or Paul DeJong for me at shortstop. I'm like Keith said, I'm going to play Edman at second. I don't think you should play him at short. If you're constructing a team with like a full Brave stack, obviously you'd rather have Swanson than Grisham, but I can't get to Swanson. Carlos Correa is 2,900 on FanDuel. I think that's a pretty good price for him. I think that's about it.
Blue Jays, Orioles will be delayed due to inclement weather. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Roth will be on in 10 minutes, let you all know. Like, as far as, like, sometimes it's good because they know something's coming, let it get out of the way, and then they'll start the game just a little bit late, and we're good to go. Or if there's other stuff lurking throughout the night. But there you go.
I'm guessing that's good for pitchers. But, yeah, obviously we'll see what Roth has to say. But if they're going to push it back, that means at least the first wave of rain. As long as it doesn't get PPD, that should be good for pitchers.
Tim, you were talking about Cleveland. Cheyenne's got a question. Arenado and Benson or Bregman and Naylor on FanDuel? Which pairing do you prefer, Arenado, Benson, or Bregman, Naylor?
Arenado, Benson.
Let's see. Keith, I got a question for you from Shaq. This is FanDuel. Goldie and Arroyo or Austin Riley and Bellinger? Which pairing do you prefer?
What format? Tournament?
Doesn't say. It just says FanDuel, I presume tournament.
Yeah, I mean, cash, it's definitely the first one, but I do like the pivot to the second one for tournaments. Riley is one of my favorite hitters on the entire slate.
Michael's asking, can anybody believe 8% of the people are playing Cueto tonight on DK? I am not playing Cueto. Is that what our current projection is for him? I'm looking at DK right now. John, are you guys playing Cueto? I'm guessing you're not.
He wouldn't be on my list for any setting.
He is 9,100.
Like, so we got 2% projection for the record. Maybe he's looking at FanDuel, or maybe he's got to hit refresh, but I don't think he's going to be 8% owned. Yeah, hit the refresh button. So, or maybe we have different sets of ownership projections. Maybe he's looking at the Cardis, but I wouldn't think it would be 8%. That seems wrong. Yeah, they're talking. I'm just catching up on chat right now. Chat, fire off your questions. We'll have some time to entertain. We haven't really talked a lot about – we're going to talk about Outfield in a second, obviously. But Keith, just as a general thought, what do you think of the Rockies? Don Jeezy's asking about the Rockies tonight.
I mean, we saw the upside last night. Nobody played them last night, and they put up, 16, 17 runs, something like that. But, yeah, I think you should definitely have some exposure there. Quintana has had a pretty decent year, but the Rockies have been a lot better against lefties than they have against righties. I think C.J. Cron is one of the top plays on the slate. I love Brendan Rodgers as well. Montero, the rookie, I think helps you fill out the stack. It's tougher to full stack them because it's not a very talented offense. But the ballpark, Quintana is also a guy that relies on a sinker and a curveball. Those historically don't play very well in Coors Field, so I like the Rockies quite a bit tonight.
And keep in mind that it's 90 degrees there with wind blowing out to left. So, I mean, it's a big time.
Coors Field Plus tonight.
That's right. It's Coors Field Plus tonight.
Crispy's calling me out for bashing Odor yesterday. Look, Odor's had a terrible season. There's no defending that. Yes, he hit a home run, and good for him. And that's going to happen because that's what he does on occasion. And yes, that was the mush play. I didn't have him. If you had him, congratulations. And somebody else said, maybe it was him as well, said that I bashed the Orioles. I don't dislike. I actually like the Orioles. I want to root for the Orioles. I enjoy Camden when I was there. I like Mullins. I think Rushman is like, I know it's too soon, but I think he's like a future Hall of Famer. I love this guy. I think he's going to be awesome. For like he's going to be one of the best catchers in the game for the next 15 years.
He's very charismatic too, and he's leading that team. I mean, he came up, and all of a sudden this team's winning like that. I think he's like a born winner, if there is such a thing. Like he really is leading that team.
Baltimore's going to be a lot of fun to watch in the next couple of years. They're loaded with young talent coming up through the minors. They've got some great pitching prospects. Gunnar Henderson is one of the top position prospects in baseball. Like they are going to be really good really soon. They're already pretty good. Like they've played amazing over the last 45 days.
And is it Batista, the fireballer out of the bullpen as well? Like, is that his name? I think it is. He's a big boy, like 6'7" or something like that. I was watching his intro music before he went on his, like every closer, not every closer, but a lot of them do. Like you can't top Baez for the Mets. Like that's amazing, but it's still pretty solid. And that guy just throws, like, you think Baltimore, let's just pick on Baltimore. They're not as bad. And the tricky part, of course, is they're in the toughest division in baseball. Messing with Toronto's solid, the Yankees, obviously, Boston, theoretically at times, mostly generally is good. Let's knock out some outfielders. There's still some questions there. We'll do our best to entertain those as well. Some outfielders, give some homer picks to the people. Crunch Time crew around the corner. Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on those notifications. Outfielders, Keith, what do you got for me?
Tim talked about Acuna's price already. I totally agree. The power hasn't been there, but he still puts up plenty of fantasy points. Love him today. Probably should have started with the Coors guys, O'Neill and Carlson in particular for the Cardinals. Carlson did grab that leadoff spot again. He's just too cheap for this spot. I absolutely love Yordan Alvarez tonight. Matchup against a young pitcher in Otto, and he's one of the best hitters in baseball. Don't forget Kyle Tucker as well in your Astro stacks. I like his price on both sides. Mookie Betts for the Dodgers. I like the Blue Jays a good amount. Teoscar Hernandez and Lourdes Gurriel. Gurriel did grab the leadoff spot again, so that's a nice little boost for him. Let's see, Cedric Mullins. I mentioned lefties against Berrios. I'll have a little bit of Mullins, assuming the weather holds up. And Grichuk, who had a monster game last night. 4,100 for the Rockies. Like that one quite a bit.
Yeah, the chat's mentioning Vogelbach. Do you guys see what Vogelbach's walk-up song is in New York?
Milkshake.
Oh, it's amazing. And you didn't like this guy enough. Like, just incredible.
Yeah,
his milkshake brings all the boys to the yard. All right, first, outfield. What do you have here, Tim? What do you want to add?
It's pretty much the same as Keith. I mean, Acuna and Tyler O'Neill are clearly the top option. It's tough. Like, I don't know if I'm not going to just play Acuna, O'Neill, Carlson. Like, I have to get different somewhere else. Like, yeah. It's like if you're strictly playing cash games, those three are probably your cash game outfielders. But, we've talked about Will Benson, something like that, punting at that position. Max Kepler is super cheap on FanDuel. I think he's like 2,600 over there. Jake McCarthy is 3,100 on DK batting leadoff. I think that's an all right play. I do really like that Grichuk call. I mean, I really like this Colorado. I really like I said, I really like that little 3-4-5 stat for Colorado tonight.
Varva or Odor? I feel like Varva's a pinch hit risk if they flip to a lefty. Just throwing that out there. You gotta. Pick your poison here amongst those two, Varva or Odor. Who's your preference?
Odor could be too. He's a lefty, so I think they both carry a little bit of pinch hit risk. Varva is safer. He's a pretty decent prospect too, so I would lean that way probably.
Somebody asked before about the Colorado bullpen. Their situation's not good, right? It's not a very good bullpen, and it's mostly right-handed. Gilbreth is the only lefty, but so is Ty Block actually considered? Is he still around? Is he in the minors? Did I see him pop up on occasion? I don't know if he's not considered part of the he's kind of sort of their long man. Is he available? Is he a person that's available? I guess they're trying to figure out how many lefties and righties. And Gilbreth has not pitched since Friday for what it's worth. So he probably gets thrown out there today at some point in some situation. But I don't think that matters too much. You're going to get righties coming in. You're starting with a lefty and you're going to get a bunch of righties. So they're going to flip, basically, is the assessment.
Well, Block was optioned to AAA on August 3rd. That's the last update that I see. I'm trying to find anything. I'm trying to find anything else that's, more recent.
You're correct. He's still in the minors. And Gomber, I believe, is in the rotation. He's the only other lefty besides Freeland and Gilbreth on the roster. So I think Gilbreth is the only one you're worried about in the bullpen. As far as
but I mean, you're starting lefty, so like you're good. It's going to flip. Basically, is the point.
Yep.
It's long story short.
Yep.
Give me some homers. Be as ambitious as you want to be, Keith. Go for it. Who's banging one out?
Let's start at the top. Yordan Alvarez is certainly hitting one out. Let's see here. I'm going to go Josh Naylor in the mid-range. And for cheap, give me JJ Bleday.
Yeah, I don't mind that one at all. I know Grant, my current roommate, who's like probably 15 feet away, he bet himself some JD Bleday hit a homer today, like 6-1 or something like that. That might have been one of those turd bombs. See those homers and raise them, Tim.
Yeah, Tyler O'Neill, Austin Riley, and Will Benson.
Seattle and the Yankees are having a fun game, despite the fact I lost all my Robbie Ray money. But we did miss a homer from Aaron. You guys are sitting down. Aaron Judge hit a homer. We just saw Carlos Santana bang out a 2-run homer, and the Mariners just grabbed the lead back 4-3. So they're having a fun time there in Seattle, bottom of 7. Yesterday was a 13-inning, 1-0 walk-off with the backup catcher with the base knock. So it's nice to see the Mariners like at least competing and playing well. I'm not sure if they're going to make a run. But, nice little pitching staff, one of the best young players in all baseball. Seattle, I feel like, never won a title, right? Never been to the World Series? Pretty sure.
Correct. Yep.
Yeah, they're on that list. We do have the Crunch Time crew, I believe. Nope, not just yet. I just pulled them up. Carty always takes a minute or two longer. Than he's got his hair primping. He's got a makeup person, I think. So he'll be in momentarily, I imagine. But as we kill some time, what else is going on? So Matt in the chat says, why do I love Bubik? Someone help me. Well, you're not going to help him, Keith, because you're playing some Bubik too. So
I am. Yeah. I just can't ignore those reverse splits. Like the White Sox, again, better against lefties on the season, but Bubik is not a typical lefty. He has extreme reverse splits, almost double the strikeouts against righties than he does lefties.
Oh man, am I gonna play some Bubik today? I can't believe it. I guess that's gonna happen. And we do live the world of a
well, it's that or Bumgarner. So come on, jump on board.
And he's actually cheaper. So you've talked me into it. I was thinking Savali, and I just don't know how deep he's gonna go. I'd like to get a beat or some kind of like pregame report on what he would, how many pitches. But we're thinking 75, 70.
Yeah. And even if it's 80, I still think Bubik has far more upside. Yes, the matchup for Savali is far better. But with the cap on the pitches, I just feel like Bubik has more upside for tournaments. Save a little bit of money with him. He's the guy I'm going with, for better or for worse. It might blow up in my face for sure, but let's roll.
Alex says he'd rather fade Coors than play Bubik or Bumgarner. The tricky part there is like the pitching falls off so quickly. Like Verlander's not this lock of locks, like he's a good play. And Alcantara is not this great matchup, and there's some weather concerns. And after that, there's like nobody I really trust. So, yeah, but I get both sides of that. You have a thought on that, Tim? Because it's not as double barrels go. Like Alcantara, Verlander doesn't feel like the greatest double barrel, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and as far as slates go, this is the best slate for double barrels. I love the double barrel, so I'm not doing that tonight. There's so many. Even if you wanted to fade Coors, like I wouldn't be able to play Alcantara and Verlander if I wanted to stack Atlanta. It's these or Houston. It's just not. I don't think it's the right slate for it.
Question in chat, Keith, before we let the Crunch Time crew come in here. I don't know how you answer this. Betts or Acuna, they're both very good, and context would help. But just off the dome, you have a preference as far as Acuna versus Betts?
You get a nice discount with Acuna, and I'm with Tim here. I think Atlanta is set up in a fantastic spot. Good park in Fenway, fly ball pitcher. Give me Acuna. Looks like we got at least part of the Crunch Time crew coming in. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Roth. We want Roth to give us some weather reports. I'm sure we just saw the delay going down, I believe, the Baltimore-Toronto game. SquirrelPatrol with us as well. Squirrel, congrats. I know it wasn't six figures, but I saw you take down 20K last night. That's not so bad for a day's work.
Yeah, Monday was better.
What?
Amazing.
What was Monday?
I won the live final qualifiers for the Fanduel and Draftkings on Monday.
No big deal.
Yeah. Really, like yesterday, I kind of luck boxed into like a third place. So it didn't feel like I didn't make a stand and it paid off. It just kind of luck box. Like it's like a Pirates mini stack or something.
So it was one of those like the people like, oh, it's a donkey lineup. He didn't deserve it, that kind of thing. Like, hey, you're going no matter what. Who cares? Point to the scoreboard. What do we have as far as live final seats locked up?
Got 4 for FanDuel, 4 for DraftKings. So pretty even. Yeah.
How many are there for each?
There's 125 for FanDuel, 100 for DraftKings. So yeah. The FanDuel ones actually probably end like tonight is number 124 out of 125. So those are ending. There's a little bit more on DK left.
You must have a bunch of plus ones on standby, man. There's a lot of friends that are sliding those DMs.
Yeah, we'll see. Like DK is allowing multiple guests for the first time in a few years. So that's exciting.
Well,
That is an interesting question, Dean. Sorry. So if you get 4 tickets, do you get 4 plus ones? You get to bring 4 people?
It's actually it's even crazier than that because so your first seat comes with a guest, and then the next seat comes with 2 guests. And then the next so all of the seats come with after the first one come with 2 additional guests.
I see, because it would have been you and the guest, but now they're not paying for you because you're already there. So now you get 2 guests for each one after the first one.
Exactly.
That's amazing. That's just wonderful.
How many more live final seats you got to win to get Roth an invite?
Yeah, it's a good question. I did invite him. I think there was one in New Orleans.
Yes,
and
I was invited already.
What?
Yeah, I was invited to a live final in New Orleans. It was very last minute though. I think somebody must have canceled. But no, I had some family stuff, so I couldn't make it. I was pretty bummed.
I was like, I think Houston's near New Orleans. I don't know geography, but
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was like 4 or 5 hours. So on the right day, I would have loved to have gone. When Houston, the glorious, beautiful city of Houston, hosts a live final, which I'm sure people are itching to come down here, I will be happy to attend.
Alan just wanted to let you know, Squirrel, unbeknownst to nothing, that he just want to say you're a great man. Just as a side note. And I
the narrative street, yeah.
Roth, the people want weather. I don't know where Carty is. Is he on the layaway? Is he having tech issues? Is it not happening? Is he going to power through? Or we don't know just yet. But if nothing else, Roth, the people want the weather. Myself, Tim, and Keith, we're going to step aside, get out of here, make some lineups. We want to hear what's going on in Toronto. We want to hear, I guess it's Baltimore and Philadelphia as well. So the FanDuel sponsor at Crunch Time starts now with Kevin Roth. Roth, take it away.
Excellent stuff, as always, from Dino and the crew. And yes, you mentioned it. You said it better than I can. It is indeed FanDuel sponsored Crunch Time. Make sure you're in the FanDuel single entry series. This is our second show. I already warned you about it during the first show. So if you're not in it yet, it might be too late, but make sure you're signing up for that every single time. $50K in bonus cash up for grabs. Top finisher in each series gets an all expenses paid trip to the single entry series championship in Chicago on September 9th. Shot at the $10,000 grand prize. Now, I imagine that's not the only way to get into this single entry series live final. So do you have any tickets to that, Squirrel?
I don't, but I won the single entry, it's the $5 contest, and I won it on Monday. That was part of my big Monday sweep. But I did terrible last night. So
okay.
Yeah.
So
we'll
so you won the one contest, I see, but you get one thrown out. So last night, terrible, you get to throw that out. But if you stack together a few more good nights, you could win a live ticket.
Yeah, exactly. I'll be in Chicago anyway. So it would probably save FanDuel some money if I just have won the single entry series for this week. But we'll see.
Nice. Okay. Well, fingers crossed for you, man. As Dean mentioned, we do have some weather concerns here. And as always with this, I would prefer to get your feedback on this as well, because there's always, a little bit of a risk-reward balance with weather. Baltimore is under a late start.
Okay.
The heavy rain is going to be gone in 30 minutes. I mean, it's gone at first pitch. But the light rain could linger until 9. Now, I think they're just going to be patient, let the light rain clear out and play. But I don't know that. I'm not the one making that decision. So I don't know. Do they want to play this game at 9:30? Probably, but I don't know. So it's not a safe play by any means.
I think we're more interested in bats.
Yeah.
Like Barrios is good. The Toronto pitcher is kind of interesting in Baltimore, but it's more of like a tournament price considered.
It's not going to matter. It's either playing or not. There's no in-game delay risk. So for me, if this is cash games, I don't think I do it, even though I do think the game will play. I just think it's too risky for cash, unless like that's just the only play. Whereas in tournaments, I like the idea of throwing in a few stacks, but not going super heavy with your exposure to it, because there's a 15-20% chance that this game gets postponed. And, I don't want you having a huge, huge ownership on that. Squirrel, you're thinking, you're chewing it over.
Yeah, I am thinking. So it's a definite late start, but you're thinking they might just call it because it's going to be late rain for a long time.
That's pretty much it. Yes. I don't think that is the likely outcome. I mean, I know it's going to be light rain for a couple of hours. I think they'll probably just say, all right, we'll wait for the light rain to clear and then we'll play. But I don't know that for certain. So it does have that postponement risk.
Just from a FanDuel perspective, because FanDuel lets you change your lineup once the game is postponed. So It's late start doesn't mean anything, but it locks at late start. But if it's postponed, then you can late swap. So you've got about an hour and a half from the Baltimore start time to the Coors Field start time. Then there's Pittsburgh and Arizona after that, and then Minnesota and the Dodgers after that. So you've got some appealing options if they postpone within the first hour and a half. And even like the first 2 hours, you're not like dead in the water. So it might be worth the risk, especially for bats on FanDuel.
I think that's a great point, and I should have pointed that out. That yes, on FanDuel you do have that flexibility, and with, like you said, Coors still coming later. And even if it's getting close to that time, and I'm still not sure which way it's going to go, they probably bail, and
it has to be, the players are locked until it's officially postponed.
I see. Okay, that makes sense. Right. Okay.
But they're probably not going to wait 2.5 hours and then postpone. They'll just be like, oh, we can't get this in tonight.
I would think so. And again, to be clear, I still think the likely outcome is they play this game. I think it's an 80% chance that that's what happens. But those are my current thoughts on it. The other game that I'm watching is Philly. And welcome to the show. Welcome to the party here, Mr. DerekCarty, by the way. Coming in, he's fresh out of the shower. His hair is still wet, fresh combed. There's some product in it. He's got a very nice, what is this called? The Oxford collar? Is that what it is? I don't know. French collar. Oxford collar. Oxford comma. The French collar, just looking very sharp as always. Explain yourself, Carty. Explain yourself.
I just lost track of time. I thought it was 3 p.m. still. I don't know how to tell time.
It's not very close to that. Welcome. We're happy to have you. For those who are unaware, that is DerekCarty. He is the mailroom clerk of the Bat and the BatX Enterprises.
Show up late.
Yeah, well, you lose all status. You're building up, and now it's falling back down. Real quick weather update here in Philly. Any storms that we see in Philly, first off, models have them holding just a little bit south. Second, if they do move in, I think it would be in the latter half of that game, which means if we want pitchers there, pitchers are going to be fine because, if we get a delay or trouble in the 7th inning, I don't think we really care. So stick with pitchers there. Super low chance that I shouldn't even bring up that maybe the game doesn't finish, but it's a low enough chance that don't pretend that's going to happen. So that is where I stand. Squirrel?
Yeah, I'm still taken aback by the collar. I've been wearing a collared shirt around the house before, and I got a show tonight. I got to throw a t-shirt on.
Right? Yeah. I know. He's the only guy who dresses up and looks sharp for the show, and you know what? We appreciate it, Carty. Looking good as always. With the weather out of the way, and by the way, in case you missed it, well, if you missed it, it's too late. Everybody else was here. Carty, why don't you go over what you're thinking here? As first, tell me how you're feeling, because Squirrel gets to go first with pitchers since you were late.
Yeah, I mean, for cash, it's a super straightforward slate. It's just painfully obvious what the right things to do are. For GBPs, though, I do think there's a good amount of ways to get different and still be really good, which it's always nice when there's a slate like that, at least on the hitting side.
Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about what we're going to do about this slate. So, Squirrel, you can lead us off. Talk me through your favorite pitchers here, both FanDuel and DK, please.
Yeah, so I agree. It's a slate where it's like a Coors Field slate, and you've got like a good big name, like decent strikeout pitcher going. Like the ownership is pretty clear. Like I could almost like read ownership without looking at any kind of projections. Like the Coors Field visiting team is going to be really highly owned. It's the Cardinals, and Justin Verlander is going to be really highly owned. But I think it's a really good tournament night because I don't think like Verlander is so good that like he needs to be like 50-something% owned. And I don't think that like the Cardinals are so like beyond any other offense that they need to be like 25% owned in terms of stacks. So I really like the idea of getting different. What I really like tonight, because I've been up late the last 2 nights with sweats, I like the idea of like fading the Cardinals and fading Verlander, or like going severely underweight them, and then just playing an amount that I can afford to like write off entirely and just like close the laptop or just turn the phone off and get to bed early if it doesn't work out. So that's what I'm thinking in terms of pitchers. Like I think Verlander is obviously like he's going to be the highest projected, highest owned guy. I like if the weather is holding up in Philadelphia. I like Sandy Alcantara as a pivot. He's about the same price on both sites, but I think his projection is close enough that you can like the difference in ownership should not be what it's showing. I like Kyle Wright as well. Probably at least more than his ownership. I think he's going to see like single digit ownership, and that's there's no reason for that facing Boston. And then Noah Syndergaard and Nick Pivetta are decent, like lower priced options. Then the really interesting kid, I mean, it's not super interesting, but like Ryan Pepio with the Dodgers is a pretty good prospect. He's being called up. He's probably not going to go too deep into the game on DraftKings. He is tied for the second highest priced pitcher, and he's kind of out of play unless you're playing like maybe a single digit amount in 150 lineup builds. But he's like close to the lowest priced pitcher on FanDuel, 6,200 on FanDuel. So he's actually a decent option with appealing high-priced bats. I think you can play Pepio at 6,200 on FanDuel.
Okay, excellent. Carty, tell me what the right move to do in cash here is, both DK and FanDuel.
It's play Justin Verlander, as you can probably guess from what Squirrel was saying. Like, he does project way better than everybody else. He projects on FanDuel 13 points better than the next guy, on DraftKings 10 points better than the next guy. He's going to be massively owned on DraftKings. The bet has him at 64%. I honestly, given what else is on the slate, I don't even think I would personally like try to get super underweight of that. On FanDuel, where he's going to be 31% owned, I think that's probably too low for his projection, honestly. He does project really well, and Alcantara's fine. But it is a really tough matchup for him, and the bat is not like super about him today. It thinks there's honestly not even a ton of difference between Alcantara, Bumgarner, and Syndergaard, according to the bat projections today. And you're going to get those other guys a little bit lower owned. So I think in cash on DraftKings, you pair Verlander with Bumgarner. He's 6.9K. He's against the Pirates. He's Bumgarner. He kind of sucks, but it's still a really good spot. It's a great price, and you want to be able to spend up on all those Coors bats. So I think that's the move in cash. Play Verlander, and then play Verlander and Bumgarner. And then aside from those 4 guys, though, like it is gross out there. It is real bad. You can take a shot on a guy like Chris Bubich. You can take a shot on a guy like Jose Barrios. I think that's probably the extent of what I'm willing to stomach on this slate. Like, I would rather just be higher on Verlander or one of these other guys personally.
Okay. I got a question from the YouTube chat already from Beast Mode. Sorry, this is in the Discord. He says, talk about the Dodgers pitcher on FanDuel. I believe that is Mr. Pepio, yeah. He's on DK, I think he's like absurdly expensive. He's like what, 10-3, and on FanDuel he's 6'2".
And on FanDuel he's 6'2".
That's FanDuel.
Like, it's just a huge price gap. Like, it's silly. On FanDuel, I think you're fine to play Pepio and GBPs for sure. He's got a good offense supporting him. The leash should be, I mean, he's a back end Dodgers pitcher. Like they might just pull him early because they do that, but theoretically he's built up. Like he's fine. The matchup is okay. He's nothing special, but for that price on FanDuel, I'm fine with him in a GPP for sure.
Okay, excellent. Hey, with that, let's talk about some of the stacks that we plan on playing. And you get to go first here, Carty. What do you like?
I mean, obviously the Cardinals are the best today, but they're not like the best by like a ridiculous amount where like you have to have them. Like in cash, yeah. In a GPP, you can fade the Cardinals, no problem. We have the Braves in a really good spot. We have the Dodgers who project for way too low ownership for what their actual projection is. I mean, we have the Rockies on the other side, of course. They're not going to go overlooked, but they're good. And then there's a bunch of teams below them, kind of like that third tier, where there's a whole bunch of stuff that's the same. I don't know if you have to get too much different. You know, Atlanta and LA, I think, gets you pretty different. But, like, you can throw in, if you want, a Guardian stack, a Toronto stack, a Houston stack. Like, they're all fine in addition to probably, like, 5 to 10 more teams.
Gotcha. Okay. Squirrel, what are you liking?
So, yeah, I mean, I think what we said about pitchers is pretty relevant because there's a lot of like not great pitchers going that people are going to be like playing. Like there's no reason like to not stack the Pirates against Madison Bumgarner. So like if people are even playing Bumgarner a lot,
Even
like,
better, right?
Yeah, like the Pirates are not going to be as highly owned as they should be, and like there's a lot of teams that fall into that category. The Dodgers, the Blue Jays, yeah. So like, you can kind of go down the list. Like Colorado is probably going to go under owned. Like Colorado playing at home generally goes under owned, just because everybody always like trips over themselves to play the road team and
yes,
usually can't afford both. Like there's about a 60% chance St. Louis wins this game. Like there's a 40% chance Colorado outscores them. So my general thought is just I'm going to try to be a little bit underweight Pirate stacks. Probably have half of what I think the field will have, and then just go overweight just about every other team.
Okay. I should have added, by the way, that in Colorado, it's 90 degrees. It's already Colorado, and that's all that actually matters. But also, it's 90 degrees and winds are blowing out at 10 miles per hour. So it's pretty good for bats there. Okay, let's go position by position here. Squirrel, you can lead us off with some catcher talk.
Sure. Actually, just one more thing we should probably point out. I don't believe on FanDuel that the White Sox Kansas City game is on the slate. I think there's like a schedule mix-up. I think this game changed times, and so they actually had it as part of the morning slate. So there's actually a difference in the slates. There's 9 games on DraftKings and 8 on FanDuel. I just wanted to throw that out there.
Okay, but you can't accidentally play a guy,
right?
Okay, so
yeah,
okay, that's good.
Just like so, we might mention guys on the White Sox or the Royals.
I see.
You cannot play them on FanDuel, and it becomes relevant for catcher because like Salvador Perez is going to be the highest owned or highest projected catcher. He's not going to be the highest owned, but he's probably by far my favorite catcher on DraftKings. Will Smith is eligible on both sites, and I think he's going to be way too low owned because I think the Dodgers are going to be lower owned than they should be. Like I think they had the last lineup that came out, and yeah, they did well last night. I think they can do well again tonight. They're facing Sonny Gray, like Elias Diaz with Colorado. If he's 4,500, which is a little bit pricey on DraftKings. But I like the Rockies as a stack. I think for the ownership, I like them better than I like the Cardinals. Gotcha.
Okay. Carty?
Yeah, I don't think Squirrel mentioned Yadier Molina, who's 2.1K on DraftKings and in cores, and he's going to be the chalk on DraftKings, and he's definitely fine to play in cash games. I like him. But I like the high-end guys that Squirrel mentioned to be a little bit different. I like Will Smith a lot. I like Salvi quite a bit. I like Alejandro Kirk a lot as well. Even on FanDuel, where you don't have to play a catcher, you can absolutely play Kirk. He's really, really good. And then I think Gary Sanchez on DraftKings for 2.5 is that's a really nice price for a guy who can, pretty easily hit a home run.
Okay. Squirrel drinking what looks to be a beer out of a very hearty glass, like German Stein thing going on there. Yeah. What exactly are you drinking, bud?
It's a Belgian beer. It's a Delirium Nocturnum. out of a Washington D.C. Brew at the Zoo mug, like souvenir mug.
Very nice. Okay,
yeah.
I approve of this.
I was actually
tasty?
at the Delirium Cafe in Belgium, like in Brussels earlier this year. It's an amazing place. I go there like as often as I'm in Belgium, which isn't that often.
I was going to say, I go there all the time. Yes.
Been there.
That's awesome. All right. Well, I approve, and I wish I was drinking with you. Okay, let's go to first base. Carty, what do you got?
Goldie is like in a tier to himself today because he's one of the best hitters in baseball and he's in the best park in baseball. You don't need me to tell you that. He's going to be super high owned. He's the best first base play on the slate. In cash games, you probably want to try to get to him. You don't have to. There are other guys on this slate. You have CJ Cron on the other side of this game who you do get a pretty significant salary discount on DraftKings. So I think it's fine to go down to Cron against a lefty. I think it's fine to outright punt the position. You have Vinny Pasquantino for 2-1 on DraftKings. You have Montero for Colorado for 2-7 on DraftKings. You have Garrett Cooper. I think the Marlins are actually a pretty sneaky stack with Syndergaard going to pick up some ownership. You get some leverage there. You get good prices on them. I think they're fine. So I like Garrett Cooper. Yeah, on FanDuel, I guess the cheap guy. I don't love the cheap guys tonight, but you have like Bobby Dalbec, you have Michael Chavis, you have guys like that you can punt with if you need to. And then it's guys in your stacks. You know, I mentioned liking Atlanta. I mentioned liking the Dodgers. Like you're playing Freeman, you're playing Olsen, that kind of thing.
Okay. Squirrel, what do you like?
Yeah, I mean, so Goldschmidt is like so far higher projected than everybody else. But I think he's going to have huge ownership, and I think it's a great place to get different because there's so many good options like CJ Cron, Matt Olson, like Christian Walker, Freddie Freeman. Like you want guys like any of these guys could potentially hit 2 home runs or hit a home run, get 6 RBI and break the slate. And if Goldschmidt is at about 25% ownership, and these guys are all seeing like single digit ownership, if you have 20% of one of these guys and they break the slate, like that's a big winning night right there. So I think it's a great place to get different on FanDuel. Like I like the pivots to the higher projected guys because salary isn't as much of a thing. So I like CJ Cron, Christian Walker, Matt Olson, Freddie Freeman. On DK, there's all of those same high priced options, but it's also a great value position like Michael Chavis. And the Royals guys are available like Nick Prado and Vinny Pasquantino. Vinny Salami. So they're close to minimum priced and can also hit a home run.
I think it was Linguini, but I like how we're just randomly throwing various Italian foods here. I approve of this. Okay, take me to second base, Squirrel.
So yeah, second base. Tommy Edman is probably going to be the highest projected, highest owned guy. So he's hitting second for the Cardinals in Coors Field. But again, like Brandon Rogers is reasonable, and he's going to be much lower owned, a little bit more expensive, but on DraftKings, but that's okay. Kel Marte, Jose Altuve, Jorge Polanco. In terms of real value guys, the Marlins have a guy, Charles LeBlanc. I don't know a lot about, but he's 2000 and he's hitting 5th in Philadelphia. So, all right, and then Michael Massey with the Royals, also 2000 on DraftKings.
Excellent. Carty, what do you like at second?
Yeah, I like Tommy Edman a lot. Obviously, I like Brendan Rodgers, especially on FanDuel where the price gap, Rodgers is a little bit cheaper than Edman, reversed on DraftKings. I like Max Muncy on FanDuel a lot because he's always too cheap and he's really good and he's had some bad luck this year, but he's really, really good. Javi Baez on FanDuel is always a little bit too cheap. I mentioned Chavis at first, but you can play him at second. Odor for a home run. I like Miguel Rojas batting second for the Marlins as part of that kind of stack. And Christian Arroyo is 2K on DraftKings. He's 2-2 on FanDuel. He's hitting 6th. It's kind of a sneaky good spot for the Red Sox tonight, I think. So, I like him.
Okay, great. Take me to third base and put a little pep in your step because we've only got 10 minutes until lock.
Gotcha. Jose Ramirez is the top guy. I guess him and Arenado are kind of like that top tier. I'm okay saving the money and going with Ramirez. If you want to play Arenado instead, like it's Coors, but you have to limit your Cardinals. So I don't know if Arenado is like a priority necessarily. He's good. You can play Ramirez on FanDuel where he's cheaper. DraftKings where he's more expensive, maybe not. Other options that you have Montero for Colorado, 2.7 on DraftKings. You have Christian Arroyo again for 2K or whatever he costs on FanDuel. You have Muncy on FanDuel qualifying at third, again, really good. You have Cabrian Hayes against Bumgarner. Great leverage, great spot, great hitter, great price, 2.6K. Love him. I like Riley a lot in Atlanta stacks. That's third.
Alan says a little Pepio in your step, which is just so good. It's such a good joke. Like, it's just absolutely good work right there. That's tough to beat. Okay, Squirrel, third base.
Yeah, so the Pep in my step recap, it's very similar to first. There's a lot of like power bats that are going to go lower owned because I think everyone's going to be jamming in Nolan Arenado. It's like Austin Riley, Jose Ramirez, Max Muncy, Matt Chapman, Rafael Devers, Brian Hayes. All guys going to be under-owned.
Okay, shortstop.
Shortstop. So yeah, Tommy Edman was probably going to be the highest owned guy. But then I like the idea of pivoting to guys who can hit home runs are going to be under-owned. Dansby Swanson, Trey Turner, Bo Bichette, Marcus Semien, and then Rodolfo Castro for savings. Paul DeJong, he's got a good price on DraftKings, but he's kind of probably be very highly owned. He's only hitting 7th. And then Vaughn Grissom, I think for Atlanta, is the prospect. He's minimum priced on DraftKings, only 2,000, but he's hitting 9th.
Okay. I don't know. Where are we? Are we short or is it
my turn? He hit my guys though. Edman and DeYoung are great. Turner and Swanson in particular in GPPs are great. Cheap guys. Vaughn Grisham is really good. Miguel Rojas is really good also, I think, in tournaments in that Marlin stack.
Okay. Outfield.
Ronald Acuna, I like a lot. Cash tournaments. I like the Braves a lot tonight. It's a really good spot. In Coors, though, you have Tyler O'Neill, you have Dylan Carlson, you have Grichuk on the other side, you have all that kind of stuff in Coors. Outside of Coors, Will Benson for Cleveland is 2K on FanDuel. I think he's really interesting. I think Jake McCarthy for 2.2 on FanDuel is really interesting. Arroyo for 2.2 on FanDuel. Cheaper guys on DraftKings. Jake McCarthy not as cheap there, but 3.1, really good price. Benson 2K on DraftKings, again, good price. Yeah, and then guys in your stacks, like Chris Taylor for the Dodgers or Mookie Betts or that kind of thing.
Okay, excellent. Guys, we've got 6 minutes left, so let's take some of these QQs here from the Discord. If you're not in the RG Discord, you should be. If you're watching on YouTube, hit that like button for us. It's free content. If we don't get enough likes, they're going to take it away from you. They're going to snatch it right from you. Hit that like button. Okay, let's get to... Oh, there's a little icon that says smash that like button. That's amazing. Impressive work by our team there. What are your thoughts on considering any Detroit value in FanDuel Cash for all those Verlander Cards lineups? Carty, I'm giving that to you as it is a cash question. Yeah, I think Javi Baez is viable enough. I don't know if there's anybody else that I'd be super considering. I think there are plenty of ways to save money. I don't know if the Tigers are the best way to do it. Okay. All right. Squirrel FanDuel Cash for you from NBAD, Olsen O'Neill or Goldie Gurriel?
Probably Olsen O'Neill.
Okay. All right. Achilles just says Benson. I've heard the name. Prospect?
Yeah, I assume this is Will Benson for Cleveland. He's fine tonight. He's 2K. He's in a good matchup. I think he's definitely one of the better value plays on this slate.
Yeah, you mentioned him a few times here. ProShare says, hey, did Squirrel say he was overweight or he was underweight on the Pirates?
Overweight.
Okay. All right.
So I don't think they're going to be very highly owned at all.
Gotcha. Okay, Achilles. Go for
Just
it.
Bumgarner's going to be owned because he's a cash game, affordable pitcher on DraftKings, and that some people are not going to want to play the Pirates against him. But why not?
Right. Gotcha. Okay. DK Cash, last man in. Carty, this is for you. Blade, De La Cruz, Prato, or Benson? Some good names.
Do Benson.
Okay. Just a question out of curiosity. How does Pepio have a 10-3 salary on DK when he was in the minors for over a month? Nobody knows, right? No,
It's a real good question.
Yeah. Nobody knows. We don't know.
I think he's a decent prospect, so it might just depend how they value that kind of thing. I don't know.
All right. Got, one final question here on how things are looking in Baltimore. For what it's worth, Camden Yards actually under a flash flood warning right now. I don't think that actually changes anything. They're still just kind of dealing with that lingering light rain. Could last a couple hours from now. The question is, are we playing bats in Baltimore or fading? I think it depends. In cash, I wouldn't do it. If you're playing it in GPPs, I'd stack it. And I certainly prefer it in FanDuel, where if the game gets postponed, you can pivot off of it.
You definitely don't need anything from that game in cash, so
Right.
that makes it easy.
Throw a few stacks. Don't get crazy. Don't get too overweight, because I know what the weather's going to do. I don't know what they're going to do. Okay, Beaner says FanDuel GPP card is for you. DeYoung or Jimenez?
DeYoung's the way better play. It depends on the rest of your lineup. Is the rest of your lineup chalky? Then maybe DeYoung's not the right guy for you.
Okay. Carty, I'm coming right back to you. I love this question. Chinatown says, I can't click Bumgarner and cash on SP. I just can't do it. So I should play Verlander
And Bumgarner. Who else?
No.
Who are you actually comfortable clicking? There's nobody. So you click the guy that projects okay for a cheap price. Like, who do you want to click?
Right. All right. I get it.
Like, do you want to play Chris Bubich or Nick Pivetta or 10-3 Ryan Pepio? Like, no, not for me.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Squirrel DK single entry. Which stack do you like more, Atlanta or Toronto? Thank you.
I like Atlanta. I mean, I like Atlanta a lot. Like, they're playing in Boston. I mean, it's still a good lineup.
Yeah. Okay. Speaking of which, I believe this is an Atlanta question, or no, maybe he's not anymore. Anyways, Steve O says, let's see, Squirrel, just throwing this out there. What are your thoughts on trying to sneak Freeland in a lineup in DK GPP? I was thinking Freeman, but even he's gone. Anyways, Freeland in a DK GPP lineup.
That's probably like too cute because like he's not a high enough upside pitcher. Like, I mean, he's obviously gonna have like minuscule ownership because the Cardinals are projecting so well. But like you just don't need to. Like, you can just take another low owned pitcher. He's probably gonna outscore Kyle Freeland.
Gotcha. Okay, great. DK GPP. This one's for you, Carty. D-Rock. We got 1 minute until lock. Mike Harris and McCarthy or Rosario and Teoscar?
I'll take the first one.
Okay, DK GPP Squirrel for you. This is a 3v3 with a Brave stack. Alcantara, Harrison, and Benson or Bumgarner, Edman, O'Neill?
Probably the second one. Like, I don't like Bumgarner. Those hitters are much better.
Okay, great. Squirrel, Verlander and Contreras. This is FanDuel GPP. Verlander and Contreras or Wright and Olsen?
Wright and Olsen.
Okay. Chinatown says, to answer your question, Carty, about who he would play in that spot at SP2, is it Syndergaard or Alcantara?
I mean, you can. If you're not going to play Bumgarner, those are your options.
Which one do you prefer of those two?
I probably prefer Syndergaard. I think Alcantara in a tough matchup is extremely overpriced. Syndergaard, you're paying $1,000 more for the exact same projection as Bumgarner, but at least you're not paying $4,000 more for almost the same projection as Bumgarner.
Okay, great. Squirrel, in stacking Atlanta in DK single entry, would you pay up to Swanson or play their prospect at short?
I mean, without any other constraints, I'd pay up for Swanson. But I would probably pay up for Swanson even if I had to like go down, say, a pitcher, just because I think the prospect's hitting low, like he's hitting ninth, I think, or so like Swanson's going to probably get an extra at bat, and he's probably a better hitter.
Gotcha. Okay, great. With that, gentlemen, we have hit the lock. Again, if you're still watching, hit that like button before you hit the X button. That's a rule. You hit the like, then the X to clear out of here. If you got any post-lock questions, feel free to throw them in. We might hang out for another minute or two. I'm going to jump over to the YouTube chat. You can get a chance to check that out.
Whole wide world. Getting up.
Clicking on this. Give me a second. Naylor or Caster for cash? Might be too late. I don't know. Carty, who do you like? Naylor or Caster?
Wasn't even considering either one at all.
Okay. Brian says, whose dog is that?
That's probably mine. My border collie is going absolutely berserk. I think the pizza's here.
Oh, nice. Okay. Well, then I'll let you get out of here. Big Show Brandon pointing out, Toronto, Baltimore, it's a division game. They play like 14 more times. Why wouldn't they just make this a doubleheader? And, they might. And that's why I'm, they wouldn't have to wait that long, but that's a legitimate risk and worry. So that's why I don't think it's safe. And that's why you shouldn't play it in cash. Okay. With that, I think we get on out of here because Squirrel's got a pizza to eat. So for Carty and for Squirrel and for our wonderful production crew, always working hard behind the scenes, guys, we appreciate you. We love you. We will catch you tomorrow. You have been crushed.